you guys noticed in, like, fan fiction, there's this weird thing where, like, people are, like, scared of using pronouns, and they'll pull out, like, the wildest epithets for people?
Yes.
Is Bumblebee just plagued by the blonde?
Oh, the
Yes,
brawler!
yes.
It's called the brawler. It's ridiculous.
I don't
hate
read
it.
fanfic, but like, yikes, guys.
It's like the brawler, the Faunus, the heiress, and like I don't know, the redhead with
The
ruby
redhead.
mustache.
The redhead pisses me off because her hair isn't even red. It's black
I know.
with red highlights.
barely red, like at the tips. Also, Weiss got
didn't
Snow White
even
once,
try.
so that's still the best.
God.
No, they didn't try at all.
They get the You Tried star from, like, 2013 Tumblr.
Oh, like that slanted one?
Yeah! Classic.
They use like a lot of eye analogies to like the blue-eyed girl or the purple-eyed girl, and I'm like, God, just say their names.
Just say that name.
Just say she looked at her. It's not that hard. We'll figure it out, guys.
Max and Ruby. Ruby and Max. Max and Ruby. Ruby and Max. Max and Ruby. Ruby and Max. Max and Ruby. Ruby and Max.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Max and Ruby, a podcast where people talk about Ruby with me, Max. I am your host, the Red Mage Eldna Doublecast, aka Reverse Mortgage Cowgirl. And before we get started, just want to give a quick shout out to @IrusuVA on Twitter for doing this wonderful Red Mage Ruby art for the splash pages on this PowerPoint here. Go check her out. Does some really great stuff. I put my intro slide first, like a smart person this time. My pronouns are he and him. I make terrible YouTube videos that give you brain damage, and you can find me on Twitter and Tumblr at Doublecast, spelled Doubleca5t, because roll clip of Aaron Zek.
The 5 is clearly an S.
And I'm joined today by a wonderful group of people. When I go to your slide, please let everyone know your name, your pronouns, if you make content, what kind of content you make, and where people can find you on social media.
Oh, hi, I'm Mercedes. I go by she, her pronouns. I mostly just watch a lot of cartoons on the internet. You can find me on Twitter at CoffeeBees or on Tumblr at Lights Around Your Vanity.
Excellent.
Oh, hi, that's me. I'm Rio. I go by they, them pronouns. You could find me on like every social media at Lipstick Giraffe. I do a lot of cosplay and a lot of shit posting, I'll be honest. And I guess a lot of theories and hyperfixations, but that's about it.
Excellent. You may also recognize Rio as the voice of Ursula from When Posting Goes Wrong.
Hey, yeah.
A celebrity in the mix. I love it.
Oh, hello, that's me. I go by Wish. I use she, her pronouns. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet by Pixel Wishes or on Tumblr at PixelWishy. I am a useless lesbian cosplayer, and I also do shit posting, and I'm too old for TikTok, but I'm on there too.
I feel like anyone above the age of 14 is too old for TikTok, but they're all on there anyway.
It's
I
true.
don't understand TikTok still.
Hit or miss. Guess they never miss, huh? Also, I screwed up and skipped Pug's slide.
That's okay.
Oh,
It's
no.
what I deserve. My name's Pug. I use she, her pronouns. You can find me basically anywhere on the internet as Cappuccino. I'm here to post bad takes and sometimes upload some fan fiction.
Cappuccino, more like Capogchino, because your takes are poggers.
It doesn't have to be like this.
Also, Pug is the one who thought of the name Max and Ruby for the podcast, so obviously she is a big brain genius, and you should all go follow her. All right, so before we get into Volume 2, new section called Errors and Omissions, which is basically stuff I learned from the comments section of the last video that I thought would be fun to point out at the beginning of this one. So I'm going to put some, like, fun background music under this for the Errors and Omissions section. So, first of all, in the last episode, Maria mentioned that at KatsuCon, I want to say 2019, she saw a cosplayer doing a Ruby Rose Sylveon crossover. Well, that cosplayer found us, and she commented on the video. Her name is Jetty Lupe. You can find her on Instagram at Jetty, Jettee.Lupe, Lupe, and on YouTube as Jetty Lupe. You can see the Ruby Rose Sylveon on screen right now if you're watching the YouTube video. She's pretty cool. Go check her out. Also, Robert Watson on the last video commented because Merc theorized that, or would like to believe that Team Cardinal died in the Fall of Beacon. Well, it turns out in Before the Dawn, they do actually mention that Cardinal went missing in the Fall of Beacon, so we can presume that they did in fact die and pee and poop their pants before they died.
But I mean, I remember they went missing because I did read Before the Dawn, but I want like definitive, like they're dead, heads on sticks somewhere, you know?
Gotcha. We will probably never get that, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah.
There was some debate in the last episode as to like why Miles and Carrie specifically were picked for to be like Monty's co-writers on RWBY, and VD pointed out that they were not the office weebs because Monty had to give them quote-unquote anime homework to get them caught up on like anime things, which again explains so much about this show. And also they did have some prior writing experience because Miles and Monty both had writing credits on Red vs. Blue seasons 9 and 10. But from what I could find, Carrie did not have any writing credits, and they had never done anything outside of Rooster Teeth. Aristocrat pointed out, or Aristocrat. So in the last episode, I went on a tangent about how I wondered if Weiss in the Japanese dub speaks in Deswa form, and Aristocrat listened to the Japanese dub and confirmed that she does. Okay, does anyone here actually know what Deswa form is?
Yes.
No, not at all, even a little.
Shout real weeaboo hours.
Yeah. Ay.
Yeah, okay. Deswa form is basically Japanese has like a few different, I don't want to say dialects, but they're like different forms of speech where if you like conjugate your words in certain ways and end your words in certain ways, it conveys like a different tone or a different like impression of you. So like there's a style of speaking that's considered that like makes you sound like a hick, and there's a style of speaking that makes you sound like a tough guy, and then there's one that makes you sound like a very prim and proper lady, and that's Deswa form. Which, if you've seen Love Live Sunshine, you know this because Daya's catchphrase is "boop boop deswa," which is funny because she's saying like and then putting the deswa to make it ladylike at the end, which is very funny, but only if you know this weird quirk of the Japanese language. Also, in the last episode, Mercedes wondered out loud if there's any lesbian harem anime she could check out, and no one had any of those, but Locus Maxis did recommend My Next Life as a Villainous All Routes Lead to Doom, which is a bi harem with a female protagonist, and apparently it's just really funny, so...
It is really funny.
So close enough, I guess.
I've had that recommended to me before too. I hear it's really good. It's on my cartoon list of like things to watch.
The ever-expanding list.
It's only 20 things long right now, and I'm 9 through, so whatever.
I'll get you through quarantine. We got a couple new people today, which means we have to talk about how they got into RWBY. So, Pug, would you like to get us started?
Sure. So I was placed on the couch by Max and forced to watch the entirety of RWBY. I was bribed with takeout from my favorite restaurant, and I'm thankful for it because I don't think I would have gotten through the first couple seasons without a good friend forcing me to watch it.
Ludovico technique, baby! Rio?
Yeah, so tale as old as time. Wish. She forced me to watch the trailers, watched the red trailer several times to make sure that I was fully invested in the character. And then as the rest of the trailers came out, she would have me come over to her house and force me to watch them on repeat.
No. You watched the white trailer on your own, and you messaged me.
That's fair.
And you were like, yo, that character design though. And I was like, I know.
That's fair.
So
I had a gay moment when Weiss showed up.
That's fair.
And then when the full thing came out, we like watched it together and fanned over it, and were disappointed, and all the other things that come with RWBY.
Oh,
Did anyone pick it up on their own, or did everyone have?
I did.
Okay, great.
Yeah, just Wish.
I had it on my own.
the OGs. Okay, so yeah, Wish and Rio, you've both been watching since the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then Pug, I introduced you after Volume 7 had already come out, so you're the latest of comers here.
I'm a baby.
Welcome.
Yay,
Thank you.
not me.
You finally get to live out your dream of being baby.
Is this just going to be you subtly dragging me for an hour, or?
No,
It's
Pug.
2 hours.
It's 2 hours. All right, we gotta go over overall impressions of Volume 2. I don't know if anyone has super strong feelings, and actually, no, I know who has strong feelings. Merc.
Volume 2 is the best of all volumes. The end.
Sure.
That was a very confident sure. Ria, do you want to opine on that a bit more?
It's definitely not, but that's your opinion.
It's like
That's about as far as I'll go with that.
Volume 2, though, it has like banger fight after banger fight. It introduces like some of the best characters. Coco Adele, the love of my life, makes her first appearance, and
We'll
that
get there.
skyrockets it to like the top of any list. Other stuff, alt outfits. Yeah, Volume 2 is where it's at.
Wish?
I liked Volume 2. It was definitely like an improvement over Volume 1, but I say a lot of like the later volumes sort of definitely took it out of my favorites, but I didn't hate it. It was okay. So
All right. Pug?
Everyone's opinion is valid. Volume 2 is certainly better than Volume 1, but it was still a struggle for me to get through under the best of circumstances. I rewatched it to do this podcast, and must say I appreciate a lot of the points that you guys are bringing up, but there is a food fight and there is a dance that you have to watch, so...
Food fight is one of the perks of the whole volume.
We'll get
It's
there.
one of
We'll
the
get.
best.
All right. I'm gonna need
Please.
to. Please hold for the appropriate slide.
Okay.
We will get into
Okay.
that. In terms of like my impressions of this volume, I'm like extremely hit or miss on it. I like basically in Volume 2, like it's a huge improvement for me over Volume 1, like Pug said, but like the highs hit very high, but the lows were like really low, and so it sort of is. It's in the middle for me. There's some really really good stuff in here, but also it has a lot of that same like early volume clunkiness that again we'll discuss in more detail shortly. All right, let's start with the good. Let's stay positive for a bit here. I'm skipping over slides again. Okay, we should be on big writing improvements. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Pug, we figured it out. We were having some technical difficulties earlier where Pug couldn't see the slideshow, but now everything should be fine. It should be cool. It should be Daijobu.
There were so many technical issues for you to be like, yes, the one that Pug had is the real problem.
It was the most recent one.
The slideshow, it really messed things up for an hour.
God. Okay, so first, and I would say like most noticeable improvement over Volume 1 is that I think even though the writing isn't quite where it will end up being later on in the show, you can notice a significant jump in quality from the first volume, just in terms of like, excuse me, there are a lot of moments in this volume that are like provoke some like actual emotions and give you something to think about. And that's like nice to see. It shows that like, you know, this series is really developing beyond just like a weird, almost like pastiche of anime that it was before. Does anyone have like, so like specifically, I feel like the dialogue feels a little smoother. The voice actors are kind of like getting used to their roles. And then in specific like scenes that I think were big highlights, I think the one that always sticks out is Blake and Yang's talk and burning the candle.
yes.
Yes, absolutely. it's like scene, and it also gives you like some really beautiful yang characterization, you know? Like that's good. That's a really good
Like
scene.
19-year-old me saw that and was just like, that seems kind of gay, but also like really sad, and like they're not going that route. But
Yeah, denied.
But I feel like
Yeah.
looking at it, like, especially through the lens of now, it's like so obviously laying something out. Like, it's really, I don't know.
it also like it definitely provoked like real emotions as opposed to like a lot of the dialogue where they didn't sound like real people in volume 1. So,
Absolutely. And you get Yang backstory in it, which is so great. Like, you get to find out like so much of what Yang is rooted in like that story about Raven, right? So, yeah.
Definitely one of the highlights of Volume 2 is, like, actually getting Yang some development, because, again, she was so flat in Volume 1, so
Yeah.
definitely a welcome.
Then you go from getting the party girl Yang interpretation to the mom Yang interpretation comes from Volume 2, I think.
yeah.
Take that any day. I'm curious,
Both have their place.
Pug, watching this one the first time through, did you get the sense that there were, like, gay things going on here?
I don't know if I can answer that question because I was instructed to watch it with the Bumblebee agenda in my mind.
Oops.
So there were some gay things between the blonde and the cat girl before I remembered what their names were. But yeah, I agree with kind of what everyone's saying. I like the start of the Yang characterization. I just wish we got a lot more of it this volume.
And
There was a lot going on this volume.
oh, for sure. Another spot where that comes through a lot is the Mountain Glen episodes.
Bee's
my
Sneeze
God,
Rise
so good.
scene, by the way. Like,
I love that Bee's Schneeze is a hill you'll die on.
Bee Sneeze, like, I don't know. I think like something like unlocked in me during Bee Sneeze week. Like, I spent so much time writing it that I'm like a believer now. Like, I'm a Bee Sneeze believer for life.
Mercedes stands at the top of the Beach Sneeze Hill.
It's just me waving a flag, being like, come here. I wrote an art school AU. But the Mountain Glen scene, like, Beach Sneeze aside, is an incredible look at characterization. And I love the way that we get, like, in the fight with Oobleck, they're giving, like, their surface what they think they want the answer to be. And then you get to see them, like around the campfire in, like, a more intimate team setting where they, like, dive into it together. Like, you can start to see how being team members, like, helps them grow as people. And I love it.
Yeah, I think the scene around the fireplace is really the first time I realized the show wasn't just a long cutscene from Mortal Kombat.
God, it's so true.
Burning the candle didn't click it for you?
No, it was a little too on the nose for me, but
That's fair.
It was, I mean, this show still can't do exposition for shit, and, like, it just has to give you info dumps from time to time.
Well, that's why you watch the side series.
World
the
of Remnant.
Yeah, that's the one.
God. Yeah, Rio?
Yeah, what?
Oh, like Mountain Glen. Do you have thoughts?
Oh yeah, Mountain Glen. I mean, for me personally, I wish that RWBY was involved in that. Like, I understand why she wasn't, but I just wanted to hear more from RWBY about why she wanted to be a huntress and not just like the basic she wants to save the world, like, and wants to be the leader thing, and just like kind of got kicked out of that whole group. Though the rest of the group was so good. That was like one of the only episodes in this entire volume that made me feel something, like, truly.
The conversation that RWBY gets in its stead with Oobleck is really interesting, though, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm so into that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Oobleck, but like that conversation was prime.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same, where I'm like, whatever, Oobleck, but the I see lives that could have been saved is like such like a core theme of the show that he like lays out very elegantly there.
We'll get into this later because I have a bullet point for this on another slide, but like, again, like Oobleck, I question the decision to make him the character to do this, but yeah, he has some really good lines and like actually gives you something to think about. But yeah, we'll get into that a little more later. So the Why You Want to Be a Huntress segment was really, really good. Other highlights of the writing in this is that, like, the main highlight, I would say, of the whole dance arc is just seeing the rest of the team look out for Blake and watching her, like, going through it.
Oh, yeah. She sure went through
Wholesome.
it.
Everyone like caring so much about her is so wholesome, and I want to see more of that from this entire show, is them just caring about each other. Please.
And it's like the first time that you see Blake start to like drop her walls in a way that like obviously has great follow through for her storyline a couple volumes later.
I'd say one thing I notice a lot about Volume 2 is that I feel like it gets a lot better once you've seen the rest of the show, because you can see all the things they're laying out.
I feel like that about every volume of RWBY. Like, I feel like when you rewatch them, they get better with, well, I mean, I've only been around for 2 volumes, but every time I rewatch it, the old volumes get better.
I feel like both, like from volume 2 onward, I feel like both Blake and Weiss get like a lot of good development, like up until the more recent volumes. Yeah,
I think Yang gets incredible development.
Yeah, she does too.
4 and 5, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Rio.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, they all get great development. It's RWBY who's like finally just starting to get it now in like volume 7 and 8, but the rest of them really good.
Oh, poor RWBY. That feel when no character development.
We start to get some good RWBY stuff in volume 6 either.
We're definitely getting there slowly but surely. But
yeah, she is the last RWBY standing.
Yeah, like I feel like she should have been one of the first to get development, but I mean, I'll take what I could get.
Yeah.
I like one of the other things to like that sort of goes back to like things that get better when you've like seen the rest of the volumes is like, for example, like just subtle hints of like what's to come with Blake, in the sense that like in the very first scene where they're all in like the cafeteria and you see her like sketching Adam in, or excuse me Adam in her notebook, which sort of like lays out the idea that like he's still like lingering in the back of her mind, and she can't stop worrying about him to some extent.
Also the foreshadowing of Yang interrupting it.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Spicy. And then just the fact that like she becomes so preoccupied with this in general and sort of like tries to take everything onto herself and like, you know, feels this need to be like kind of self-sacrificing and you know, working herself to the bone, because she's so scared that like the White Fang will like, you know, cause all these problems for people. It's just like a lot of like a preview of things to come, basically.
Yeah, it's good. And it's the prelude to the food fight scene, so that's great.
We have feelings about that.
Oh,
yeah,
we do.
We'll get there.
Pug, do you have thoughts on this stuff with Blake?
No, but can I take a crack at your favorite joke? Can I guess?
What's my favorite joke, Pug?
Is it the truffles?
It's the truffles joke!
Good night.
That is my favorite joke in all of RWBY, and so it gets points for this volume.
I think rewatching it, it's just so... One, it is animated well, which is really saying something for volume 2.
Got him.
And the kind of the 3 of the characters together having just like a quiet and cute moment like that is so lovely. Like, we don't get a lot of that until later on, so...
It's the small things, you know?
It is.
Yeah, it's fun when you see them joking around. You see them at the beginning of Volume 2 also joking around when they play games, though. Like, Volume 2 is good for hangouts.
Volume 2 has them, like, it has a lot of, like, fun, like, silly stuff in it that you don't get as much of in the later volumes, and I think that is one thing that, like, when people sort of go off on, like, why they don't like the show anymore, that's probably, I think, one of the things they miss.
Whatever, they got more going on in current volumes. They don't have time to play Risk.
I'm not saying they're correct.
Everybody's valid and can enjoy RWBY how they like.
All opinions are valid.
As we go into the food fight scene.
All right. Fights. There are a lot of them in this volume, and they slap silly. First of all, painting the town. Who doesn't love a giant robot battle?
It was really good.
Yeah, one of my favorite fights of the entire show.
Yang punches the robot resemblance. That's one of the coolest images of all time.
That made me cry the first time I watched it. I sobbed. Just like what they're saying when she activates it, and like, oh my god, the symbolism behind that. Just like, I was crying so hard that she was like, oh, like she doesn't use it unless something hits her and then it makes her hit back harder. So it resembles her past trauma and stuff. And I was just like, oh no, I'm crying.
At you.
It was like the
So
first
good.
time we really got like a super good look at how her semblance worked too. Like we kind of knew, but like, yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really good. And there's so many other good moments in that fight too. Like when Weiss casts haste on Blake, that is badass.
Yes.
Yes.
Or when they do Bumblebee and we get to learn the team names, lots of good to go.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
yes, the
all the
combo
doubles are
moves.
so good.
Yeah, choreography impeccable as usual. I mean,
Flawless.
okay, Pug, you work in animation. You have strong opinions about these things. Were you like from the very beginning like struck particularly by the fight choreography?
I think the fight choreography is good. I just don't know that the execution is honoring that in a way. Yeah, I work in animation. I work in 3D animation, so seeing kind of these rigs and flicker issues really takes me out of it, which is sad because I wish I could be like, yeah, that fight scene is great, and I'm like, wow, that fight scene is filled with technical issues. I feel like I'm in a dailies review and I'm supposed to be giving notes.
God, it's like that dude who like took like gotcha cards and gave them to like his dad who's an artist, and he like put like red circles on everything. It was like pointing out like all the like girls' bad anatomy and shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, the fight scenes are better executed than things like walk cycles in this show. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I just wish I could like lose myself in these big fight scenes that you guys like so much, but my brain just keeps snagging on silly things I wish had been cleaned up.
Of course, that happens when you know something so well. Of course, that's going to happen though.
Yeah.
C'est la vie, c'est la guerre. But yeah, no, that fight. Oh god, painting the town is so good.
And the outfits, they wear the cool outfits.
Oh, cannot
Yes.
forget about the alt outfits. People like to this day like will be like fawning on my timeline over Yang's alt outfit.
It's so good.
Yeah, because it's amazing. I like Weiss's. I would wear that.
Actually, yes, I kind of want
Yeah.
that coat.
Yeah, it's a great coat.
Also,
Ruby kind of got stiffed on that though.
Yeah, Ruby kind of just looks like herself.
didn't do a lot of changes for her, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Missed
She's not a
opportunity
fashion
there.
person.
That's true. She has one thing that she wears over and over again, and all her outfits since then have been like a slight variation on it. She's just gotten like a little less like EGL over time.
Yeah.
Other highlights for fighting: the train. So much good stuff to unpack there. Yang versus Neo, especially.
Excellent fight scene.
The
And
start of
birthplace-
the thirst.
the start of Baked Alaska, one of the greatest ships of all time.
Mercedes has a
That,
whole thing with Baked Alaska.
I'm taking it back for the girls.
That whole scene on the train with Neo like shook the fandom when it came out. Like everybody was making like gift sets of her and putting her to like boss ass bitch in like rap music videos. And like it was like the early version of fan cams, like RWBY fan cams, but fan cams didn't exist yet. It was hysterical. Love that.
It's such a good fight though. Like just I don't know, the way the two character designs look is a good fight. Also, I like Neo's umbrella.
Oh,
Neo's
Umbrella's
defensive
amazing.
style is so cool.
Yeah.
I was in love with her from the second she showed up. That has dwindled over the years, but in that moment, I only saw one woman, and it was Neo.
I feel like Neo is one of those characters that like everyone just immediately falls in love with because she has like a huge following in like all parts of the fandom, basically.
It's just so
Yeah,
cool.
even people outside the fandom love Neo.
She made it
What?
into Blaze Blue.
Yeah,
Oh, she did, yep.
It's all the only RWBY characters in Blaze Blue are all 4 members of Team RWBY, and then Neo.
Watching it again, I missed this outfit for Neo. I missed her own look.
Oh, the original
Same.
one.
Oh, I did too. I really like her first outfit better.
Yeah, me too. For
it fits
reasons.
her so well.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, like, is her shirt a bodysuit? Because it looks like it should be, but I'm not actually sure.
Like the undershirt.
Yeah,
I mean, when I made it, I cosplayed her. That was like one of my first RWBY cosplays. When I made I made it into a corset just because I wanted that like snatched waist.
Right.
However, I do think that it's a bodysuit because it like does those cut things on her hips.
Yeah, the extremely critical hip cutouts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're really relevant.
They're very nice.
That's the plot.
You know what I like about the Yang
plot.
fight too is you see Raven, she shows up. That's pretty cool. And Neo freaks out, so I was always like, "Ooh, what does Neo know?"
Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite moments
Yeah.
of all the train fights.
Are we not gonna talk about Blake putting her boot in Roman Torchwick's face? Because I was like, yes.
What a lucky
Talk about
man.
Trevor, yes.
You kick me like that, queen.
Wow.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, all of those fights were so good. Also, okay, this is also the beginning of the recurring meme of Weiss can't win fights on her own.
That is where that starts. Weiss loses.
It's so unfair that everyone else gets to look really cool in their fights, and then Weiss just gets beat up by random Chainsaw Man.
She gets knocked
really
out in
Yeah.
the fight.
She's some cool looking sword fighting in that train fight though. Like at least she goes down looking cool.
That's true. No, that's the one thing you can always count on with the show is, like, whatever happens in a fight, it'll probably look cool.
Yeah, it's true. Does she win in what?
Who lets their support go down first? It's just casuals, you know?
Yeah. Gamer jokes.
It's valid. I don't understand it because I'm not gay, so I'm bad at video games.
I play like Final Fantasy 7, so
Final Fantasy, video games for people who are bad at video games.
literally though, it's like that and like
Same, though.
Fire Emblem 3 houses is the same. I was like, I'm so into this because I don't need any skills.
Same.
It's that and Kingdom Hearts, man.
I'm a
that's it.
gamer. I play Nintendo games. I'm a gamer.
I know, right? Hello, I'm a gamer girl.
Also, just like, okay, to go off of like Neo's fighting style, which we talked about a little bit earlier, I think the thing that I love about Neo is the fact that like she's like 4'10" in heels and fights with an umbrella, but she like never loses.
Yeah.
She just
so, like,
she kicks
agile,
so
you know?
much ass
Yeah.
and just destroys everyone in these fights, and you wouldn't expect it. And it has like that same appeal as like, I don't know, like Squirrel Girl, where it's like, this is not the character who I thought would be overpowered, but I'm glad that she is.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah, actually.
I think that Neo, the reason that they have Neo face Yang is like the same reason that like in Volume 6 they put people fighting the big giant mecha suit, right? Because like Neo kicks ass because she's like small and quick, and that's not what Yang is like trained to be fighting. So
It's
yeah.
strength versus finesse.
Yeah, well, that's so
Yeah.
early in Yang's arc. Like, so much of Yang's fighting arc is about her, like, learning to, like, take her moment and think, right?
Learning
So-
to use her feet instead of just her hands.
Yeah! So it's like, I mean, yes. But, like,
Local
it's
girl
like, this is
discovers legs.
like the seeds of that, though. Cool.
Um,
yeah.
Okay, let's get into food fight discourse.
Okay.
Food fights.
Uh-oh.
So,
Oh boy.
all right, so to give my thoughts on this real quick, I cringed my way through the food fight. Maria, who is only here with us in spirit, cringed her way through the food fight. And I feel like we are not alone in cringing our way through the food fight.
Nope, we're
Hug.
not.
Right? So watching it the first time, I had to cringe my way through it. Watching it the second time, it was just pure loving hours. So I was more open to it. Again, if what you want out of RWBY is kind of these big fight scenes with lots of characters, I think it's fun to have, allies fighting each other. I think it's fun to see that interaction. It's just a little too cringy for me, the way that it's written in there. I don't need my storyline to be broken up by these big articulated fights. But Yang does have, 2 chickens or 2 turkeys on her fists. And yeah, you got to be really ballsy to put that in your show. So
I mean, Weiss fights with a swordfish, and it's incredible.
If nothing else, this show has balls. You can't knock it on that front.
yeah, even in my writing, sometimes I think, oh, that's way too self-indulgent. I'm like, man, RWBY exists. I'm just going to go with it. So,
It's so true. God.
Valid.
Oh my god, that is, I've never thought about that before, but I think I do that too.
Yeah, I had this like on a later slide, but I can just bring it up now, which is that the thing that really strikes me about Volume 2 is I think this is the season where they leaned into like rule of cool the most, in the sense of like a lot of these scenes feel like, you know, Monty thought of something and it didn't necessarily like need to be there. It didn't necessarily make sense with the rest of the story, but you know what? It looks cool, so fuck it, it's going in the show. And the food fight is the pinnacle of this because the entire story stops dead in its tracks for 3 minutes of what, this 15-minute web series where time is like, you know, in short supply, to show us everyone fighting each other with food over nothing just because it looks cool.
It's also the only time we'll ever see Juniper versus Ruby, though. And so, like, that makes it an interesting fight to me just on that basis alone. Plus, everything else makes it amazing.
Well, we're definitely not going to see Juniper versus Ruby now because there's no J there. Or P, rather. No P.
John in your head.
Yeah, that is really what
John.
I'm thinking.
Oh, God. Oops. A Freudian slip there.
That's what happened with volume 11, growing
I
up.
mean, listen. This volume, I really wanted there to be no J there. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
we'll get into that. Rio.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, the first time I watched this, I absolutely despised this entire episode. I was so annoyed that they used such crucial time in an episode that's only like 10 minutes long to waste on a food fight that like doesn't move along the plot at all, which was already something that I was like really annoyed by in the show, is that the plot just like doesn't go anywhere. But I mean, later on, now, as I've watched this show like a billion times over, I can appreciate it for the fight mechanics and like what they were trying to do, though I still believe that they should have taken this food fight and just released it as like a separate clip from the entire show and used that time to like build Team Ruby talking to each other, or even them like talking to Team Juniper and building the characters instead of just having this weird fight that didn't do anything and just like paused the entire show for no reason. But it is cool to look at, so I'll give them that.
I remember hearing a story about how Food Fight came to be, and like I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently like people were saying that they shouldn't just put things in just because they look cool, and Monty was like, I'm gonna do this to spite them.
Oh my
and
God.
and I'm pretty sure that's what happened, but
I mean,
Motherfucker.
sounds like something I would do, so that's
This-
cool, Monty.
Oh, fuck. It's
I kind of am rooting for him. Like, yeah, do things just because they're cool. I'm team that.
It's like when John Lennon got that letter that said that, like, school children were analyzing Beatles lyrics in their classrooms, and so he wrote, "I am the walrus."
yeah.
Just be like, yeah, fucking analyze this.
And then they
And
did
you
a
know
lot.
English teachers did.
Yeah,
Oh,
so much.
absolutely. Oh my God. All right. Merc, are you're obviously pro food fight.
I think it's a really good fight scene. Like, I don't know. One thing we're all forgetting, the most important part of the fight scene is that it is kicked off by Nora throwing the fruit in Yang's mouth, and that is so great. And also, I heard a rumor that in the original cut of it, she's tying a cherry stem in a knot with her tongue and then showing it to Blake.
Jesus Christ.
I love how that's like, that is the crux of the food fight scene.
It's an important part of it, I'm just saying. Also, I like when Blake and Pyrrha fight with like the sausage links. That's such a nice looking moment because they look good together. And I really like it when Weiss fights with the swordfish. Like, she should fight with swordfish again. I'm sad she didn't do it in volume 7 at the party scene. And yeah, I like seeing Juniper versus Ruby. I like that they found a way for that to happen that didn't like hurt me, you know?
I'm kind of with Rio on this one where, like, it definitely, like, there are points to be made with the food fight, but the fact that it stops the story dead in its tracks and it goes on for a while really does bug me, and so I think if it had been, like, a little bonus feature, I would probably be a lot more positive on it, but... as it is now.
I also think that I disagree that every moment needs to move the story along. Like, what's that Ghibli thing about the silent moments in between or something? I don't actually remember the word.
Yeah, like I feel like that's really valid. Like I understand that for most things, but because of the length of the show and
Amount of
like
time,
the
yeah.
episode just density, like it didn't have enough space to just have some random scene like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I just I'm on a different side of the fence on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay.
understandable.
Understandable. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yes, points have been made. We don't all just agree on this show, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
All right. Other strong points for the fights in this volume. Pyrrha and everything she does.
Yep.
Oh, the cardinal fight, the pure cardinal fight.
Just taking on four
Oh, that
dudes
was
at
so
once
good.
like it's nothing.
That's sick. And then takes on Mercury 2 minutes later, like it's also nothing.
I
Kira putting on armor though.
Oh, so good. That's so good. Yes.
Ooh.
It's like it was almost like a Pyrrha short, you know? Like
I'd
that
like
whole
more
thing.
of that.
Yeah.
But we can't have it now.
I was about to say,
Flashbacks.
Please.
Sorry, go on.
No, you're good.
Oh, I was just gonna say I like increased like the percentage of like sapphics on the show and the tone changed dramatically. And,
yeah, I
you
was
know,
about to say,
I'm here for it.
get a bunch of gays in the room together, and all they're gonna talk about is how pretty the girls are.
Probably true.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all are not wrong. One thing I really liked from Pyrrha this volume is specifically the Pyrrha Mercury fight, because like when I first watched that, I thought it was so weird. Is like, why does he just like stop in the middle of the fight to forfeit? But like putting all the pieces together of like, okay, she's like hiding her semblance to conceal her power level. God, I hate that that's like a meme now, but to literally conceal her power level, and that he's just trying to like suss it out of her, and you can really see like they convey it like subtly, but it's there where she moves like his legs like just enough that he can notice something is off.
Does she know he has metal legs then? Like, does Pyrrha know that?
She's
moving his boots, right? Not
yeah,
his legs.
steel-toed boots.
But wouldn't she sense it? Wouldn't she sense his whole metal legs?
I assume that's
her
why
thing?
he forfeit, so she wouldn't have enough time to do it. I rewatched it specifically looking for that, and he mentions that she was moving his boots, but
Yeah. No, she does. She does mention that. I'm just like, when Pyrrha uses her semblance, I wonder why she didn't also feel that.
Maybe it's like she exerts a certain amount of like magnetism based on like how much she thinks she'll need to move it, because like we see that later in volume 3. So it's like maybe if she's only trying to move a shoe, she wouldn't notice that there's like more there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and she doesn't have like low grade metal sense all the time, does she? Does she?
And he also mentioned that she had to touch it first, so maybe she didn't come into contact with the leg.
That's a good point. Contact. But then she doesn't need contact to move John's shield in volume 1.
Monty
You're
forgot.
looking for
Continuity.
consistency? Yeah.
I was gonna say that is one of the weaker points in this show, and we can discuss that later. But
No, we gotta connect the dots. We can connect the dots, guys.
I've connected them. You haven't connected shit.
That's literally me. I am that meme.
Okay. I have previously expressed my opinions on caffeine, but I will say, without the rap verse, as the backing track for the fight in the city at the end of this volume, it works pretty well. That was a good fight.
Coffee shows up and they look so cool.
Oh my god, Coco.
Oh, wait.
Love of my life.
Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Hey, Mercedes, do you know what time it is?
What time is it? Is it Coco Adele loving hour?
It's Coco Adele loving hours!
Yeah!
Oh my god.
Coco Wiggins. One of the things I like about Coco is that when she was announced as gay last year, every single person was like, yeah, we saw the scene in volume 2. We all been new. Because she just extreme gay energy. It's incredible.
So I specifically remember messaging Rio after watching this scene and being like, yo, Coco could like step on me. I was like 19. I was like, bro.
I don't think I had seen it when you messaged me that too. And I was like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I saw it.
Everything.
And was like, yeah, she can step on me too. She has
Yeah.
2 feet.
She can walk in her hands and get it 2 more times after.
You got childhood friends on this podcast. So sorry, you're gonna get a lot of that.
It adds flavor.
Yeah, beautiful.
It does.
It's like how I just like know it's like how Pug and I have stories from watching the show together. So
Aw.
Yeah.
speaking of Pug, did you have any like kind of strong reaction to Coco, or were you just too annoyed with various like visual glitches in that fight?
So my type is not TikTok lesbians, so Coco doesn't do it for me.
That's
Everyone else.
Oh,
the meanest thing you've ever said to me.
Guys, I'm so sorry. Like it's you know, it's valid. It's just not for me. Yeah, I was just here for Velvet, really.
I love Velvet. Velvet's also great.
so your type is soft girl.
Yeah, you put
Bottom?
rabbit ears on the character, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here for that. So, yeah. But I see it. I see why everyone's so into Coco. I also see why everyone's so into Neo. So, sorry.
Yeah.
We're all gay here.
She's just so cool. I don't know. She had a very strong impact on me. I can't quite explain it. It's just like unlocked something in my heart. But all of Coffee is cool. I love After the Dawn because you learn how cool Fox is too.
Oh yeah, he gets like the least attention in the show, so glad they
Yeah.
like give him a little more to work with in the book.
He's like MVP of the book.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to check out those books at some point.
Yeah, they're surprisingly okay.
Surprisingly okay.
I own them. I just haven't read them yet.
A mood. Yeah, I think Team Coffee, like, aside from everything we've just mentioned, like, they exist to stand around looking cool. Again, coming back to the core ethos of this volume, which is, fuck it, it's going in the show. Like, they barely say anything, but they just show up and they kill some Grim and look good doing it. And honestly, I think it's fine to have some characters like that, you know? They're just a fun little addition.
Wait,
Like, you're right.
is the caption?
Yeah, I know. I just read that.
You're just noticing the caption on the Coco image.
I was like, what the hell, man?
Am I wrong?
Do you listen to Girl in Red?
Read After the Fall and then come back to me.
All right. I think
Anything Coco is like an Instagram boyfriend to Velvet. Like, that's what I think her social media archetype is.
interesting.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
God, I'm sure if we want to get into Crosshairs, actually we have a bullet point for Crosshairs on another slide, so you can opine a bit more about that later.
Oh man, someone's gonna have to like put tape over my mouth on that slide.
This is like it's a blessing and a curse to have the podcast formatted like this, because on the one hand it like keeps it makes sure we like hit all the points and keep everything moving. On the other hand, sometimes you just really want to jump in with something from another slide. Be like, no, we are staying on schedule. I'm running a tight ship here.
Okay.
Oh, hey, we're here.
Speaking
Oh,
of
really? Tell me
yes, other high points in Volume 2, the introduction of Team Seaman. We talked a bit about
Can we just call them Cinnamon? Can we just live like that just for one day?
Mercedes. They're Team Seaman, and you know it. Come on,
No.
there's in no universe is CMEN cinnamon.
In the universe of my heart, it is.
I would also like to point out it works because it invokes a color. It's consistent with the lore.
Consistent. Inappropriate time to use that
I'm
word.
sorry. Okay, but in all seriousness though, we get the Cinder reveal. We meet Emerald and Mercury, and they are some of my favorite characters in this volume because
Yeah,
they feel
Cinder for life.
their Emerald and Mercury, especially like just through their banter, it feels like there's a lot more going on there. It feels like there's some real depth, there's some backstory, and we do see that a bit later, but you get that immediately that like, you know, there's a little more going on here than would say Roman, who Pug has kind of a hate boner for, if you don't mind me saying so.
Yeah, I think if Roman was going to be like the main villain of the series, I would have definitely dropped it.
Ooh. Where do you stand on Cinder's sexiness?
I'm into Cinder. I wish she was a little. I have a boner for capable villains, and Cinder just kind of slides right under that. check
Ooh.
mark.
Strongly disagree.
But I love her. I love the heist outfit. I love
The heist outfit's very good.
Yeah,
This-
the running across the rooftops is terrible.
I put that on the bullet list.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the slides.
Okay.
Oh,
But
good.
counterpoint, she has a sexy voice.
Jessica Negri.
Jessica fucking Negri of all people.
Is that
Coming
a
through with
person?
some
Like, is she someone I should know?
She's a really
Cosplayer?
famous cosplayer, yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
she got big off. Actually, no, I don't know if this was off. Yeah, she's been like a big name cosplayer for like a long time.
About 10 years almost I think she's
Yeah.
like 31 now, and she's been going since she was like 20, so yeah.
Cosplaying through the generations. I love it.
Honestly, kind of impressive. Stuff.
Wow, she does a great job as Cinder. Love the voice.
Yeah, no, Cinder.
Yeah, Cinder's fantastic. I love Emerald too. I wish we got a little bit more time with her. I could use a little less of Mercury, but I think that's my opinion on most men in the show. So
Yeah,
I
same.
think get something good with Emerald. I think it's coming. Like,
I hope so. I'm
putting that out in the universe. Yeah, me too, actually.
They've been
You're
teasing
correct.
stuff with her for a while. Like, she's clearly going through it with Cinder. So, like, you know, I want to see the moment where like it breaks in one direction or another.
Yeah.
Like, there's clearly like some sort of like mommy issue thing going on there. Like, she's kind of like her mother figure, and then like
Yeah, I
Cinder's-
can't ship it for that reason.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know, man. Complicated feelings about your evil lady boss. That's not relatable to everyone.
I mean, when you put it that way, you make some point.
This is I'm looking forward to this podcast leading people to have some very complicated feelings about ships they hate. Not because I want people to ship them, just because I like causing chaos.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Who doesn't like to cause a little chaos? Any more words of Cheryl Blossom?
All right, cool. We're all in agreement. These guys are great. Excellent. Other like random high points. No more shadow people, thank fucking God. I know that was like intentional as a way to like it's like we can only do so much with the budget we have, and this is how they decided to use it, but it was still like one of the hardest things for me to see in volume 1, and I'm glad they worked that out sooner rather than later.
Agreed. The best part about the shadow people definitely is just the people who show up to conventions dressed as a shadow person for RWBY meetups.
Lol.
Like, that's it.
That's incredible.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so good.
yeah.
Again, just hammering home, the show really does have like a amazing cosplay community.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I love the cosplay community. I'm blowing kisses
We're a
to
part
people,
of
by the
it.
way. Yeah.
Other stuff, let's see here. More foreshadowing I touched on a little bit earlier, but like one point is that like Ozpin comes off as very shady this volume, between like his conversation with Blake and the way that him and like Ironwood and Glinda approach RWBY, and like, you know, letting them sort of like slip under the rules to go to Mountain Glen even though they're not supposed to, and like it comes off as kind of like weird and a little creepy, but if anything that's just sort of like preparing us for things to come.
It's like a window to how he probably treated Strike, right? Or Stark. I don't
Stark.
actually know how to
It's
pronounce
Stark.
that.
Yeah.
Why is it always been Strike in my head? We'll come back to that later.
Again, it's a semen cinnamon thing.
Yeah. No,
Oh, no.
I mean,
we're
is
done with
it?
that. We're done with that one. Anyway, I do think it's like a window into how he treated Stark. Like, I think it lets us know how he treated that team back in their day.
I think it's scary when he pulls one of the girls aside specifically to have a conversation with them. Those are the
Yeah.
Yeah, super creepy.
In the first coffee book after the fall, actually, they kind of established that he picks a team who he does that to every year, because he does that to Coffee as well, like pulls them aside to talk to them. So it's like
Groomer.
He's just picking like a batch
Whoa.
of chosen ones every year until he hits the ones who will actually
Hoping
like
one
work
will
for him.
Dick, yeah, terrifying. Actually,
We had like me and Rio had like a big theory about that way back in the day, but it kind of got proven wrong. So
Did it though? Don't even get me started.
listen, we can discuss this
I
later
can't-
on Discord.
Yeah, not right now.
anyway,
Anyway.
Lots of hot takes.
Yeah, I love a hot take.
Other good foreshadowing is we get our introduction to Iron Daddy here, and
hell yeah.
yeah. And like I think I'm not sure how much I don't think I picked up on this too much on my first watch through, but looking back, it really does. There are already hints of like what he is going to end up becoming given enough time and given things, going a little less in his favor, I would say.
They skywrite it practically. It's crazy watching Volume 2 after Volume 7. Like, it's really wild, I think.
They already established that he's kind of paranoid about things, so yeah, it definitely sets up for the later volumes.
And sets up his like animosity with Oscar too.
Oh yeah, I think he's
a
also
bit.
yeah. He's also like from like very early on, like he's already expressing doubts with Ozpin and like disagreeing with him on like how to approach the situation. So yeah, that tension is there from pretty much the beginning.
You guys think his intentions are bad this early on in the series, though?
I don't think his intentions are ever. Oh, Ironwood's? I got stuck on Ozpin for a second.
Yeah, Iron Daddy.
I don't think Ironwood's intentions also are either ever bad. He's just living through like a lens where he thinks he's doing the heroic thing. He's wrong and like up in his head, but I don't think he ever goes into things with like power intentions. He goes in to protect. It just runs really muck.
Yeah, I think he's doing his best in this season,
Well,
for better or worse.
He is the Tin Man who loses his heart. I kind of had a suspicion that it was going to end up this way, but I wasn't sure how it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
God, the Wizard of Oz parallels are like kind of annoying, but they also work. Like they're very consistent. They keep those working the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like
it gets worse when you realize it's like multifaceted because every single person in this entire show has relevance to a Wizard of Oz character. But that is something that we'll go into if you ever do a theory podcast.
That's a whole Pepe Sylvia board worth laying out.
Like don't get me started on that. I could talk for literal hours.
The Wizard of Oz parallels, though, that's a good one. I'm excited to see
good.
I'm excited to see the Vacua headmaster like in person.
Oh, absolutely.
Same.
Yeah, Dorothy of Oz.
Gotta complete the quartet.
Yeah. But not quite. It's not Scarecrow, so.
But what was I saying? I was saying something about Ironwood. Yeah, I think Ironwood is sort of like a road to hell is paved with good intentions thing where like Wish said, he is legitimately trying to like protect people and do the best he can. It's just that like by the end of it, he's just making increasingly bad decisions because he's letting paranoia get the best of him. Paranoia, and I guess like by volume 7, I would say like cynicism more than anything.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy and his PTSD, I think, is driving him a lot more than he realizes in volume 7.
Yes. I mean, that's volume 7 discourse, so,
Yes,
we'll save that for another podcast, but, yeah.
I do like that he always thinks he's, like, locked in eternal combat with Cinder, but every time he's gotten, like, really thrown for a loop, it's been... Or he thinks he's locked in combat with Salem, but every time he's really, like, thrown for a loop, it's by Cinder, so, like, that's who he's fighting.
The one area where she is effective, Pug.
She's more effective than people give her credit for. She got the Fall Maiden powers. She got the relic. Like, she just stole it back.
She hacked all the security.
She hacked all the security. She got Penny killed, and basically she killed Pyrrha, which is, like, I know, not great, but, like, she gets shit done. Cinder does more than people give
She
her
got,
credit
like,
for.
she had, like, the Fall of Beacon was, like, a 10-point, like, objective MMO quest, and she finished 9 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, she does more than like Hazel's ever done. Like
I have things to say about like the power scale of this show because Cinder starts off as like a really intimidating villain from volume 2 to 3 and then immediately is just completely overshadowed and power swapped. So like
it's because she can get wiped by the Silver Eyes now. Like it's like they discovered the Spirit Bomb for her.
They can hit her with her weak point for massive damage.
Yeah, exactly. And now everything walk.
Flip over the giant enemy crab. Okay, other fun stuff in this volume. The last scene where they're like all hanging out on, is it like a roof?
Oh yeah, they're sitting.
They're like hanging off the side of Beacon.
Yeah,
and they're like, let's all take a rest. That's such a nice scene.
It's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Again, more of those like small little moments that like you just don't get as much in the later volumes where they just have like a little room to breathe.
Like the found family moments are so important for RWBY. Absolutely. Like, and that's a good one.
Oh yes.
Agreed.
Found family critical for this show.
The
theme song for this volume slaps.
It's probably the best one. I think it's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's definitely up there on my list.
I think the 7 opening is my favorite, but this one is up there as well.
Ooh, I like this one. I like 6 too.
We already freaked out over Pyrrha and the alt outfits, but we have yet to discuss the best boy, Zwei.
What a good day!
I don't know. I mean, besides making Cowboy Bebop reference, I don't know why they put him there, but I am glad they did because he was fun.
Literally just to make a Cowboy Bebop reference. Easily
We get the really funny RWBY line too, where she's like, "We'll nail ourselves there" from Zwei. That always makes me laugh.
God. Yeah, this again, Zwei, another perfect example of, fuck it, it's cool, it's going in the show. I think I mind Zwei a little less than some of the other elements, because, like, Zwei is funny, at the very least. Like, I get a good laugh out of him every time they, like, you know, when he falls out of, like, the package tube with his, like, massive mountain of, like, food cans, or, like, Oobleck launching him like a projectile weapon into the mech suit, blowing it up. Like, that's just entertaining. It's stupid as all hell, but it's fun. And, like, even I can appreciate that, as many grievances as I have.
I usually don't like animal companions in shows because I have a really low tolerance for seeing animals get hurt. So I think making the dog indestructible is a great way around that.
Yeah, actually. It's like, literally whatever happens, you know Zwei will be okay.
Yeah.
That's true. You could like drop Zwei in a volcano and you just pop right out.
Unstoppable force. All right.
Oh.
We have had a fun time talking about the good things in Volume 2, and now it is time to move on to the issues, the things that we have some problems with. First of all, more fucking Jean! Fuck this kid! Oh my god, yeah, I'm not done hating on Jean from the last episode.
Do you hate Jean? Because I feel like every time I had some shit to say about him, you kind of came to his defense.
Only in the first 2 volumes.
Plus Jean lover.
In the first 2 volumes, I take a lot of issue with Jean, and then, because again, as Maria said in the last episode, Jean is just the character from the ProZD video where he gets better in the later seasons, but early on he's like, oh, I'm peeing and pooping my pants. That's what Jean is, and you just have to deal with it. But he is particularly insufferable in this volume.
I can't believe the picture you used though, because that's like one of the coolest parts of the dance scene. I love that little Juniper choreograph thing, and also the chibi episode where they're like practicing it.
I probably should have put him with the guitar there in retrospect, but
Yeah.
I do have points to make about the dance, but we'll get there.
Oh, Yang Hitter is a speaker though. Like points have been made.
Okay, so this slide is about the entire dance arc, and again, one more example of, fuck it, it's cool, it's going in the show. Monty wanted to animate a cool dance scene, and he did, and it looked pretty cool, but, like, the plot contorts way out of its way and creates a 3-episode, like, little mini arc just to, like, find space for it, and there are some parts of that arc that are fun, there are some parts of that arc that are really good, like burning the candle, and, like, the whole Cinder, like, infiltration scene. But the rest of it is, like, such a slog to get through.
I think the Blake and Yang thread of it makes it worth it for me. Also, I like Weiss and Yang planning the dance together.
We all know why it works for us.
Yeah.
I was really thinking about, you know, the placement of this, and I don't know that I mind the dance arc so much as I mind, like, normally when a show does like a school festival or a dance, it's normally later in the character development and the development between the characters where, yes, it's fan servicey, but it's a payoff in a way. And this just feels like it comes too early. I understand why it has to come so early, but it just feels like they had to like really jam it in there before we were ready for something like this.
Okay, narratively, you make an interesting point. Like, it's too bad that it does have to only come there, because it would be cool if they could have had Mountain Glen and then the dance. And
Exactly.
Then the train.
Yeah, normally
Yeah.
you gotta have your big, you know, villain fight, and then you return, and you're like, okay, we're gonna calm down a little bit. We're gonna have our, you know.
I would have loved burning the candle so much more if it was phrased like that. If it was like after Mountain Glen Blake was really burnt out, you know, like she's gone through the whole volume, like kind of burning down too.
Absolutely. I think this is really rammed in there because they
Yeah.
wanted to do it and they didn't have, the structure to do it later in the series.
Yeah, okay. You make some points. Interesting.
Thanks, I try.
Rio and or Wish, do you have strong feelings about the dance arc?
I mean, most of my feelings are about Blake and Yang, of course.
Rio, I was
However,
gonna say.
yeah, however, for the rest of it, I'm pretty much in agreement with the others about it. Like, it's kind of shoehorned in there, and it kind of has the same effect as the food fight for me. Not as much, because I feel like they added a little character development in there with, like, at least Blake and Yang, if not also, like, Weiss and Yang planning it and all that stuff. It's just the dance itself that's like,
Wait,
I don't know.
okay, so, like,
No arc.
going along with what they're saying about, like, Blake and Yang being, like, most of my feelings, I also have feelings about the thing that most people had feelings about, which was Neptune at the dance, and how everybody thought that he was going to come out.
Yeah, I heard
He
about
should
that.
have.
That would have been amazing. Seems so gay. Like, Neptune should just come out anyway. He's like in love with Sun.
He should. There's still time, okay? There's still time.
Before the dawn, he's just like following Sun around, being like, "Yeah, bro, you make some good points. You look really nice today." Like every episode.
That's so gay.
I feel so sorry for Neptune. I feel like he's only there to have a weird fear when the plot kind of demands it, and that sucks.
Oh, they actually go into that in a lot more detail in Before the Dawn too, which is this is a secret promo episode 4 apparently. But yeah, no, that does kind of suck. Like
The tragedy of so many characters getting their development shunted into the books. It really is
Yeah, that's
unfortunate.
unfortunate.
just
Like,
copy and sign.
That's like kind of like the tragedy of early RWBY is it was trying so hard to be like, okay, I know there's debate over like, no, RWBY's a magical girl show. It's not a shonen, but there's a lot of shonen influence in here. And one part of that is just like loads and loads of characters. But the problem is that unlike a big shonen, you don't have like tons of filler. You don't have really long seasons. You have unusually short episodes. And so because of that, like you can introduce all these characters, but you literally can't give most or all of them development, and so you end up with, like Ren gets nothing until volume 4, and he's like he's supposed to be like a main cast member. Yang goes the entire first volume without getting anything. Team Coffee exists just to look cool. Neptune is basically a joke for like most of his screen time.
Nora exists.
Nora, oh man, you have thoughts about Nora.
So like the Neptune thing is not the hill I'm gonna die on because whatever, I get it, he's the class B character, but Nora getting backstory that is not just plot device for Ren is the hill I will die on.
Were you like furious during volume 7 when they kept like saying there was going to be Nora backstory coming and then it never came?
I'm so worried because even when we get it, I'm concerned that it's just going to further Ren's plot. So I'd love for her to, step out of that shadow a little bit.
Do you think it's going to be like the she's from Mantle theory? Like,
I'll take anything. I'm thirsty for it.
Yeah.
I'm
like
thirsty for more
backstory.
Nora. Let's be real.
I mean, I never thought I'd have a show where it's like, oh yeah, all the redheads are S tier.
Nora was like my favorite character early on because she was like the most clearly defined, and it felt like they actually like, again, even though she didn't have like an actual backstory, they at least knew what they were doing with her.
Mm-hmm. Just got a personality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The thing that like really irked me about this more so than anything was the love triangle between Jean, Weiss, and Neptune.
God.
Yeah.
Should have been.
How did I
Neptune,
forget about that?
Just repress it.
Yeah, actually though. There's so many issues here. I don't know if I feel like I've been talking too much. Does anyone else want to jump in on this one?
Weiss should have asked Pyrrha to the dance.
Yeah.
I agree,
No.
but no.
Valid.
Well, I mean, everything stems from John being terrible for the first 2 seasons. So, like, I don't know. He's just so focused on getting a girlfriend. But, like, for some reason, he hyper-focused on Weiss this volume and just why? Like, Weiss clearly doesn't want anything to do with you. Just, like, move on. You have Pyrrha there. You're hanging out with Pyrrha so much. Like, all your friends in your group are rooting for you and being there for you. Like, why is there so much Jean content in this entire volume?
Okay, like,
Sorry, what?
sorry. You can go on. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it kind of sucks that like Jean is kind of annoying to watch sometimes, but all like the really good, vulnerable Pyrrha moments you get, you have to go along for the ride of Jean's storylines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Jean was really good for like the Pyrrha development, and like you did get you. That's part of the reason why you grew attached to Pyrrha as a character was through his lens. But I do think that what he says to Neptune to help Weiss was kind of cool. But again, I still think Neptune should have been gay, but that's just me.
Jean gives Pyrrha good development at the cost of forcing us to watch him shitting out his doo-doo ass. And it's very unfortunate that that's how they chose to do it. But yeah, it's rough, man. The one thing
watching him chase Weiss is always kind of rough. Doesn't like Weiss's VA, doesn't she like Jean and Weiss though?
I thought she was a White Rose shipper.
I don't know.
Someone in the comments is going to tell us what Kara ships. I'm sure it'll go in errors and omissions next episode.
Excellent.
But yeah, the one good thing to come from Jean's interest in Weiss is that my favorite RWBY AMV is based on those scenes, which is Weiss Schnee highlights set to Meghan Trainor's No. I don't even like Meghan Trainor. No is like the only song from her that I tolerate, because sometimes you just want, you know, it's a mood. It's just no. Like, it's just no.
Max, I'm gonna need the link to that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll have to drop that in the Discord. It's somewhere deep in the Weiss tag on my Tumblr, so
I think you sent it to me. I bet I can find it.
I have definitely sent it to Pug before. I'll dig that up later. It's really funny. I don't want to put it in the video because then I'll get a copyright strike, but you know, I'll like link it in the description or something. Okay. Oh, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about with this arc, Weiss like gets together a little bit with Neptune at the end, and then that is never brought up again. And so I think, does anyone have like thoughts on this beyond just like they fucked up?
They're both repressed and gay and didn't know it yet.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I'll die on that hill.
Yeah. I don't think they ever meant to do any serious follow through with Weiss and Neptune. Maybe they will in a later volume, like when they go to back.
It definitely feels like they literally just forgot about it because she fawns over him so hard, and then it's like that never happened afterwards.
I kind of wonder if that was just to show she likes people, just not Jean.
I mean, that's valid.
Yeah.
Ain't that a mood?
I think they did like just introduce. I feel like they just introduced him and Sun so that there was like, ooh, boy love interest, and then they were like, you know what, nah, and they just stopped using Neptune for it.
They're like, this show is attracting a different audience. Let's switch gears.
The two things that this show has in spades is I've talked at length about fuck it, it's going in the show, but the other one that I think is relevant a lot is fuck that shit, we're doing something else. Because they do that constantly with like characterizations, in the sense that a lot of people in Volume 1 are totally different from Volume 2. That like Weiss goes from like being racist and having to like move past that to suddenly be like, actually I'm doing this to like restore the honor to my family's name, and like, but it's like, wait, but like just last volume you were like really kind of defensive of that and you were actually like sort of on their side, but now you're like willing to admit that they're actually assholes and you're trying to make things better. So like, I don't know, it feels like there's
Volume 1, Weiss is supposed to still be like more under her father's thumb, and Volume 2 she's questioning that.
Yeah, but I don't know, to me it feels like it happens sort of all at once. Like they don't really show her like slipping away from him. She just, you know, one volume she's like the snooty rich girl, and the next volume, well, she's still like kind of snooty and rich, but like you know, she's not like it. She doesn't have the same attitude as before.
Like you would have liked to see more like growth in Weiss.
Yeah,
than
it doesn't feel like real growth. It feels like they sort of flipped a switch and they're like, this is what we're doing with her character now. Fuck that, new plan.
I feel like they just didn't have time.
I feel like
we're so short of time.
Weiss is so much about like mirrors and masks and stuff, right? That like it's believable to me that she would change character quickly because it's like she's dropping the mask she's been wearing all her life, kind of feeling.
Pug, do you have thoughts
Yeah,
on
I'd
this?
agree with that.
I think it takes them a long time to figure out which direction they want to go for a few of the characters, and I think it's just a symptom of that. I also think the show is not super good at handling fantasy racism, and sometimes gives characters lines that maybe they don't intend to be as damaging.
We'll
yeah.
get there.
Absolutely.
We got a whole slide for that.
I think a good example of that is the girl that is the Nyan Cat character. She says a bunch of things that I just don't think the writers intended for it to be as vicious as it was. So I think it's a little
Or
bit
like the
Neon.
the laser pointer, right? Isn't
Neon Cat. Hold on, Merc. I sent you a tweet.
what'd you say?
This was a while ago. I actually.
Oh wait, I kind of remember this.
Do I want? It's like it was something along the lines of like Neon Cat seems like a lesbian who like knows the terminology but doesn't know how to use it correctly, so she'll like call you a slur in a vicious way.
Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. It's Neon is definitely WLW, but she's not really well versed on LGBT culture and stuff. So she says slurs she can't reclaim, and she'd like call me a dyke with venom in her voice. But that's what I love about her.
Okay, like she has roller skates, of course.
But that's Volume 3 discourse. All
That's
right.
why Neon would be fun to hang out with, though, too, because she's just like YOLOing around.
I would feel that way if she also didn't have a weird fat shaming throwaway line, but that's in there for some reason.
Does do that. She's just
I
a
know.
dick.
God. Again, that's Volume 3 discourse. We'll get there. All right. The writing in this show is still kind of all over the place at times. First of all, everyone, what happened to the stolen dust?
Oh, yeah.
Is that not what's on the train to make the explosion? Am I dumb?
That was
Oh, shut up. That is
that was
what
my
it is,
interpretation.
absolutely.
But one
Yeah.
of the
So-
I bring this up because this is like one of the main criticisms of the show when people talk about like writing problems is they're like, what happened to the stolen dust? So you have to bring
But doesn't
It was
Roman
on
like
the
show it all
train?
off in a room at the beginning of the volume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
just
You
everywhere.
have it. It's right there. There it is.
Wish, sorry.
Yeah, it was on the train and it was used to like fuel the paladins that they fight. So it was there.
Oh, mystery solved.
I don't know.
Mystery solved. Though I personally like the idea that they simply brushed it under the rug.
Like swept the dust physically under a rug.
Yes.
Like Roman
Yes.
All of it. All of the stolen dust.
A lot of
Tons.
area rugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those points where like because so many people take issue with it and it's such like a common critique, I don't know if this is one of those things that we can just sort of brush off as like internet critics being kind of up their ass, which does happen with RWBY a lot, or if there's like something to be said for like the amount of people who don't know where the dust went or what happened to it, because it definitely like no one says it explicitly, but like is that necessary? I don't know. Pug, do you have thoughts on this?
So I do have thoughts. If again, if I was reviewing this for continuity, I think it would so easily be solved when they're in the caves and the White Fang are around doing nothing. Like one singular shot of that to be them loading dust on the train would have very easily solved this. And I can't imagine why you wouldn't do it. It's possible it's in a shot that got cut. It's possible that it's in a dialogue line that got cut. But again, I've seen lots of people bump up against this, and I think it really could have been easily resolved.
You really just had to have Roman in the command room when Blake comes in before he sees her going, is the dust all loaded up or something? And that does
I
it.
mean, so easy. A throwaway line, one shot of them loading up dust, and then you put all of this discourse to bed.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like if you're looking to connect the dots, it's not hard, but they don't do it for you, and they could have, and that would have, like you said, put a lot of discourse to bed.
They do a lot of stuff for you, so maybe people were just expecting it.
It's like they're never subtle, and so the one time they're subtle, everyone misses it. God. Okay. Other things. Okay, maybe this is stuff that, like, I found weirder than other people, but, like, I've talked before about, like, there's a lot of foreshadowing in this volume and a lot of previews of things that we'll see down the road. But some of it I don't think necessarily works on its own and kind of, like, comes out of nowhere. Particularly, like, the whole thing with Ironwood and, like, we're in a time of peace, but that's not what Ironwood says. Like, I don't think there's really been, like, sufficient setup by this point to, like, give us the impression that there's any kind of, like, fragile peace between the kingdoms, so it feels kind of weird to throw that out there, even though it does, you know, relate to things that are happening.
Kingdoms, right?
Yeah, or like that. Well, that we're on like the brink of anything, you know. It just feels like it kind of comes out of nowhere.
I think it's supposed to tip you off that Ironwood is scared of something, which is pretty good foreshadowing.
I don't know that I bump up against this as much as you do. I think it's foreshadowing, and I think it's showing Ironwood's intentions, but also he is trying to maintain the idea of peace. So
it's just that Penny knows more than other people know.
Exactly. I think Penny knowing more than the average person who's being intentionally kept in the dark is not, you know, a huge issue.
No, like she would, right? Because she's like, you know, leaned up against a wall in Pietro's workshop while they talk about stuff, probably.
But your issue isn't that it's a fragile piece. Your issue is that this throwaway line doesn't feel like it has a foundation, and I think
correct.
That's a different.
Interesting. Yeah. Like, you don't think the time of peace foundation?
I think it, like, I don't know. For me, it didn't. When RWBY says, like, but this is a time of peace, it, like, that kind of, to me, it feels like, okay, well, if you're gonna say that, shouldn't you have established that, like, there were a lot of wars in the past, or not even, like, between kingdoms, but just, like, you know, I don't know, like wars against the Grimm, I guess, where it was, like, you know, there has been a lot of, like, hardship and war in the past in this world, but, you know, now we're in peacetime. But they don't really convey that. I mean, like, obviously we don't see, like, a massive war going on, but it feels like if this is, like, the status quo, it feels like there should be some indication of, like, but this isn't usually the status quo. Like, in the past there have been big wars, and they talk about that later, but she says, like, this is a time of peace first. Am I coherent here?
Yeah, totally.
I also think the dust robberies and kind of the general violence we're seeing helps me buy into that a little bit more, which is not exactly the peace they're referring to. But I mean, anytime you're kind of training children to be soldiers, I'm not really buying peace.
Yeah.
Same.
But also, like, the world they live in with the Grimm is, like, kind of a different angle than we can really wrap our heads around in terms of training soldiers. But then they're also 15, so...
Yeah, RWBY's 16 and the rest of them are, like, 17, 18. But, like, it's, like, with the Grimm and everything, I wouldn't really describe that as a time of peace anyway.
I think it's a reference to the Great War, though, right? Like, because that was like nom for them, I always feel like, in terms of how far away it was.
So it was like 80 years,
yeah, I mean,
right?
apparently it's 80 years ago, according to Ozpin, which isn't that long ago.
No, that's like, you could have grandparents who have, like, Great War stories.
Yeah.
I think, Rio, you had, like, a whole point in the planning doc about the Great War. Did you want to go off on that?
Yeah. So, like, they have a whole scene before they go on the search and destroy mission thing where Ozpin is just, like, standing in front of the whole school talking about how the Great War was only, like, 80 years ago and that they were, like, fighting over artistic freedom, which is something that they don't even go into in the World of Remnants, and that's not even something that they bring up in the later Volume 6 thing. Like, it's never talked about that it was something that they were fighting over. But in this speech that he's giving, he's talking so much about how it's, like, artistic freedom, and that's why all the kids are named after colors, which they eventually scrapped anyway. But, like, there's this whole, like, big speech for no reason.
They do go over that in World of Remnant, though.
About the
about how
the artistic thing?
Yeah, about how Mantle suppressed, like, they said that Mantle and parts of Mistral were suppressing people's right to artistic expression because they thought it calmed the Grimm.
Oh, then maybe I just missed it. You're right.
But they kind of, like, never really bring it up again, though. Like,
no, and I wish they would, because it is an interesting thing that there were societies that were like, people can't have joy because of the Grimm. Like, it's
interesting way that countries would exist in a world where Grimm exists.
It's a very weird element to like throw out there as like a critical piece of lore and then never bring up again. Probably because the only reason it exists is to justify people being named after colors, which, mind you, you didn't need to justify that. You could have just fucking done it, because like everything else that's stupid in this show doesn't have like a clear justification. So it's like, yeah, like fuck you, everyone's named after a color. Deal with it. That's the universe this is in. It's like, why are the stands named after like, you know, 70s and 80s rock songs and JoJo's? Fuck you, it's cool. I like those songs. Deal with it. Like,
but with the RWBY lore like that, I always get the feeling it's because like someone has a huge binder of like backstory OC content they've written, and they're just trying to find ways to include it.
I know like the RWBY Bible exists, and it was like extremely in depth. So that probably was what that was. They like, you know, Monty wrote that in at some point, and they just wanted it in the show. It's like,
yeah, like when you watch Jupiter Ascending, how it's like there's so much plot happening. They know way more about this world than was filmed.
Pug, don't you have feelings on Jupiter Ascending?
Oh yeah, I love Jupiter Ascending.
I love Jupiter Ascending. It's so good.
I feel like someone put something on the slide about Yang's characterization in this volume. I forget. Yes, go ahead.
I was really looking for the appeal of Yang in the earlier seasons. I just wasn't getting it. I feel like the puns are so bad; they really take me out of it.
She says like one pun though.
It is a pretty bad one.
She has a lot of cheesy jokes. That's
It's terrible.
I think writing her dialogue is just, they're so like waffling back and forth on what they want to do with her. I think the scene at the bar is kind of wild to introduce and then kind of never discuss again. It's a weird aspect of her character to just kind of throw in there.
You do address it again though, like during Pinky in the Town.
Yeah, but like nothing about her characters to me suggests that that's a scene she would know about. They don't really have any connective tissue there. It's just like we have her in a bar drinking a non-alcoholic beverage because we want to, and there's nothing like, if she was an Animal Crossing villager, she'd be a jock, and there's no connective tissue to show me that she should be at the bar.
Was she not looking for her mom in the trailer, and that's why she knew about the bar?
Yeah, she's looking for Raven.
I think it comes back to the idea of, like, I think they wanted to characterize her as a party girl initially, and then they just kind of dropped that as we get into, like, volumes 2 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of her character traits that are strong character traits in the beginning completely get dropped once they feel out how they want to write her, and I'm glad, because I like her later better, but it just feels very, kind of what we were talking about with Weiss, like we're just going to drop the racism thread because we found something that works better, and I feel like we're just going to drop the party girl thread because we found something that works better.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Party Girl Yang has something to do with, like, her thinking of herself as indestructible before Volume 3, though. Like, and you see a more vulnerable Yang once she has to, like, face her own.
I just don't, I mean, like, that's something we can speculate about. I don't feel like the show does any of the work for you. I don't think it, like, has any of that connective tissue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I would be fine with if they wanted to flesh out. It's just a wild scene to just throw in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I've always thought that Yang's scenes in the club are always kind of like I get that they were trying to establish something about her character, but like they never followed through on it, and so it does feel very out of place, especially when you get like the bigger picture on what they ended up doing with her. Rio and or Wish, do you have thoughts on this?
The only thing that I could say on that is, like, the only time that they do a little bit touch back on that type of characterization for her is in Volume 7, where they show her and Blake going to the club, and Yang clearly knows how to dance, apparently. She doesn't, but they want us to believe that she does. So it's like, okay, so she's familiar with going to these places and dancing in whatever gay way that she dances. So, I mean, they kind of touch on it, but, like, not enough to have me believe that she's some, like, massive party girl.
She's so smart. Why do people even think that she's just, like, going to clubs and just frequenting clubs all the time? That bothered me.
You could be smart and still go to clubs. Like, that's doesn't
fair.
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel integrated, I guess, is the issue. It just feels like...
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it really does come back to there are a lot of parts of this story that they thought they were doing one thing and then they decided to do another thing, and they don't really transition between the two. They just drop the first thing and do the second.
Pretty much.
All right, cool. Other technical issues that are causing Pug to lose her goddamn mind watching this show. Cinder having all kinds of glitches in Dance Dance Infiltration. What did people notice here?
Oh my god, the mask flickers on and off between shots. Who approved it? Who sent that to render? At me. Holy shit. It's driving me crazy. I think we talked about the walk cycle on the roof being potentially the worst walk cycle I've seen. Like her running across the roof is really rough, but there's also a Neptune, Mercury, Cinder walking down the hallway in their school uniforms that's meant to be really intimidating, that it's just so clunky and terrible.
Did anyone else have walk cycles that were distracting them?
The scene with Cinder's ass when she's walking, she's like walking in place, but like you're distracted by her ass in the shot, so it like takes away from it. But she really is not going anywhere.
Yeah, they're still having a lot of trouble with walk cycles here. I think by like volume 3 they're like a little better, but yeah, it's still pretty rough. One thing that was really distracting me, and like I know this is like just a result of the show being low budget as all hell, but like none of the hair looks like hair. It's like a solid object that's placed on their head, and it behaves like that when they move around. Like anytime someone rolls over in bed, the hair like stays completely still and rolls with them.
It's not so bad.
Oh.
I had a friend who didn't watch the show because Yang's hair bugged her too much, actually.
It's okay as long as it's not clipping through something, but once they put a backpack on and half their hair
Yeah.
Oh god.
Absolutely. This isn't technical, but I like that at Beacon, the Wi-Fi password is Beacon with a 3.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is them animating in the old program.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Pug,
Poser.
you can opine on this because this was made in Poser, which is the software that Monty self-taught on. But you have thoughts on this?
I've got thoughts. I'm really happy they moved into, I believe, Maya Redshift for the later,
Yes, it did.
later seasons. Which thank you, whoever did that. I'm gonna give them a light pass here because I'm imagining there are some animation graduates in the world, normal ones who have never used Poser before. So I think being like, oh, this person can't animate a walk cycle is not fair when you're asking them to work in a program that they're probably not as familiar with. Maybe I'm totally wrong on that, but
So there was discourse about that, and I could get into that if you guys want, but
Please do.
I might just... Okay. So Monty had this thing where he refused to switch to Maya for a really long time, and there were people who they started to hire on that were like, we don't know how to use Poser. And like he was like, well, we're gonna teach you. And like everybody there did not want to use Poser except for like the original people who are working on it. So like there was a lot of like internal issues going on with that specifically.
yeah, and you can see it. Like I know that animator knows that the mask shouldn't be flickering on and off. I also know they're working in a program that probably wasn't what they were taught. So
Yeah, the show does look a lot more like confident when they move to Maya.
yeah.
I think that what Wish brought up explains a lot, because when you think about like the people who get the most credit for the parts of the show that look good, it's Monty and then it's Shane, who was another guy who was working with Poser from before the show started, and his scenes are some of the ones that people usually say look really good. So
Shane was another one that was like, I don't want to move to Maya. I think it just had a lot to do with the fact that he like really admired Monty, and that's why he was like so adamant about still using Poser. But
Wait, who is Shane?
he's not with the company anymore. So
that's a volume 3 discourse.
oh yeah, it sure is.
Oh,
That's gonna be a long slide.
oh god. Volume 3 is gonna be
3-hour podcast.
Volume 3 is gonna be like mostly discourse. There's just so much. But yeah, I think that does explain a lot of the reason why the show looks so janky early on. It's just a weird meshing of worlds with like this whole like sort of self-taught sort of non-traditional approach to the animation, and then bringing on a whole team that is expecting something kind of different and having to work around that. So it's a struggle. Oh wait, sound mixing. Rio, you wanted to talk about this?
Oh my God. It sounds like it is recorded on one of those, like when you're a kid and you make a phone out of a tin can and a string. It's like some of this volume, most of it, I'll be honest, like all the sound effects and things for like cars going by or like explosions and things just sound like they're the lowest quality sounds that they could possibly put in here. I'll give them credit that it's better than volume one, but like, oh my God, I hated it so much, especially listening to it on like headphones. I'm glad that they fixed that.
Yeah. There was a lot of sound mixing issues early on. It's just not ideal.
Yeah.
Anyone else have thoughts on this?
Nope.
Lovely. All right, here we go.
Right.
Here we fucking go. So, I feel like in the world of RWBY criticism, there are like a lot of things that people dunk on the show for that are extremely contentious. That if you like, there's one group of people who will say like, you know, all this stuff about the new volume sucks and like, you know, the show lost its way after volume 3 or vice versa. I think like one of the few things that everyone can be like pretty much in agreement on is that the Faunus are a bad racism allegory. And it
Do
does
not
not
use animal people.
They
Do not
still
use
haven't
animal people.
That's a good point. They still haven't really figured it out either.
No,
like,
not at all. All of these problems are still plaguing them because...
They
Oh, God. Sorry, go on.
sorry. They tried to drop it after like obviously Monty is no longer with them because but they tried to drop it after that because Miles and Carrie felt like they weren't, you know, like equipped to write for like a racism plot. And they tried, but it was already so ingrained in the show that like they should have tried to tie up loose ends, or they should have tried to hire like POC writers to like help them with it. But yeah,
You really
it fell
just-
short.
You can't just drop systemic racism into your like pre-existing world and have it change like almost nothing and just be like a weird side plot. Like
he's such a linchpin of Blake's character too, right? Like
Yeah.
they can't not address it.
Yeah.
but it's one of
Yeah,
those
they
things
like
where-
really
yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah. Pug, do you want to opine on this? I feel like you have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, when I was rewatching, I noticed this shot in the library where Jean is holding up an X-Men comic, and then it very awkwardly kind of pans over to Blake, and I'm like, so we know that we're making a bad racism allegory, and we know that we're doing nothing with it. I really hate anything that kind of stems from racism allegories. I think this is an interesting time that we're talking about it, especially with D&D kind of removing racial features from the game. It definitely feels like a conversation people are ready to have, which is great because we've needed to have it since Lord of the Rings came out. Seems like now is the time. I have a hard time with it. I feel like it only comes up when it's relevant. The severity only comes up when the plot demands it. There's a certain villain, I think, that is not fleshed out because we hear that terrible things happen to him, but it is not fleshed out enough. I don't know. I think this is the worst aspect of the show. If you want to give one of your main characters cat ears, I think you should just do it instead of trying to come up with a bad racism allegory for it.
Yeah.
Totally right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It just does not work. I think one of the main reasons it doesn't work is like you were talking about how it just sort of like occasionally comes up whenever it's relevant. But for the most part is just like sort of left in the background, and like you can completely forget about it for like huge stretches of the show, honestly. And I think that comes back to like the issues that Miles and Carrie have with like not just writing racism, but on top of that, show don't tell, in the sense that like everything about the Faunus and their oppression is told to us, and what we see is like the barest minimum representation of just like not even like systemic racism, just like bullying, basically, like personal grievance racism, which really just doesn't convey the scope of the issue that supposedly exists, and kind of sells their own world building short, if that makes sense.
Which I think that's a good point, because I also don't want the shoe on the other foot where it's just a lot of torture porn about a racism allegory. I don't want to see, Catgirl bleeding and being abused. I think that is a fine line to walk. I think it's just so poorly executed and so cherry picked in this. Yeah. It's okay. You can just give her cat ears. Like, I promise. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Are we all feel pretty good about this in terms of we've said what we need to say?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So, Faunus racism, it doesn't work. It's bad. Oh, yeah, sorry, one more thing. Having the White Fang be, like, the main villains in these first two arcs has just really bad implications in the sense that, like, they are the one civil rights group that exists that we know of for this oppressed minority, and they're the villains. And, like, sure, we learn later that, like, this branch of the White Fang is basically a cult controlled by a crazy guy, but, like, that none of that's conveyed early on.
Yeah, because, like, at first they, like, made him into, like, radicalized, like, I don't know, and, like, it was like it was trying to justify the fact that people were, like, being racist. I was like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So. Yeah.
So Miles and Carrie, smartly, I guess, have never really felt comfortable writing this, still aren't comfortable writing it, and want to stop writing it. And I agree.
Why don't they
with them.
just hire a sensitivity reader or something, though?
I don't think any amount of sensitivity reading can fix this at this point.
That's what I was saying. They should have hired on, like, more POC writers, but that's just...
Yeah, because I think the answer at this point is to not write out systematic racism from your show if you've made it such an integral point. It's just...
Right? Because that would feel so lazy at this point to be like, never mind, it's gone.
Yeah, I know that it radicalized all these people, and all these people have really suffered because of it, but we've just written it out because it's inconvenient. Like, you can't do that either.
That would be a huge drag. Yeah, I think that they just need to find careful ways to address it. Maybe they will.
Who knows? Maybe they'll really surprise us in, like, volume 9 or whatever.
I would love that, though.
God. All right, let's get into some discourse, trademark, because there's lots to discuss here. First and foremost, it's kind of weird that I didn't bring this up in volume 1, but I feel like there's just way more to talk about in this volume with this. Shipping, the thing I built my entire YouTube career on.
Here we go.
Yes, there's much to discuss here because I feel like there are a lot. I mean, people were shipping for this show from, like, literally the trailers. Wish and Rio, you have been here from the beginning. Like, what do you think it is about the show that just gets that, like, produces, like, this massive culture around shipping that is just so much more, like, expansive and intense than a lot of other shows?
I feel like it has a lot to do with the number of characters and the fact that people really like certain character designs together. Like, that was what the trailer shipping was about. Like, ooh, this character would look good with this character. And, like, it kept going from there. Like, any character that interacted with each other was, like, immediately shipped. So
It's because they all have such cool character designs, like Hundo P.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the colors. The fact that each color could go with the other colors. So, like, if you think about color theory itself, like, some certain characters, their colors are complementary to each other. So it, like, kind of stems more of a shipping standpoint of, like, oh, wow, this character already has this other color in their design. So they obviously should be shipped together, and maybe not so obvious for other people. But it's just...
Sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, that speaks more to me about one of the ways that people get so passionate about certain ships. But, like, the widespread, like, people do ship anything in this fandom. It's nuts. It's awesome.
Yeah, they do. It's crazy.
it's awesome in some aspects, in other aspects.
Oh, I'm so about it. I love chaotic shipping.
As we have noticed.
So did the big pairings come out from trailers before we had any, like, plot?
Kind of. There were people who were obviously, like, intermixing shipping, but, like, people kind of established that they liked Blake and Yang together, and they liked Ruby and Weiss together from the beginning, and that's just because of the colors, definitely.
People,
yeah, that's pretty much it.
people shipped Ruby and Yang from the trailers, even though
Yeah,
even though
that's
it's
fair.
specified that they're sisters in the trailers.
That happened.
So that was
happened.
fun.
I thought there was a period where people didn't know that. Am I misinformed?
No,
Taylor, she's
because
like, oh, X, like right when she comes outside. So I think someone tried to
Yeah.
argue, well, maybe they mean sis, like you say to your friends, but that was weird.
Yeah, that's a little hard to argue, but they did.
It's a weak excuse, but
Real stretch.
it's okay, guys. I've encountered the former enabler shippers, and they have all moved on to Falling Petals.
which is arguably weird too, but
I at least know where they're coming from.
yeah.
That's more of a currency I accept, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some ships, because there's a lot of them, and this volume gives us a lot of material to work with. First of all, White Rose and Nuts and Dolts. We get some good wholesome Nuts and Dolts content early on in this volume.
I love Nuts and Jolts. They're so cute.
It's
I
a good,
I love
I
them.
vibe with that.
like just the dynamic of like Ruby being Penny's like first actual friend, and her just being like so surprised anytime Ruby shows like any kind of like basic sort of like kindness to her. It's like tragic because you know that she just expects everyone to like hate her and reject her for being like a weird robot, but it's also just kind of like adorable to see like her expectations be subverted like that.
It's like Penny is the personification of like Ruby's awkward personality traits from Volume 1. And Ruby's like, oh, I love you because of it. I don't know. I just like how Penny is so awkward, she makes like Ruby look smooth.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Nuts and Dolts from the beginning was always about Ruby's obsession with weapons and Penny literally being a weapon.
Well, you know.
Oh, so you got called out extra hard in the video.
It's right there on the table. You have a point.
It writes itself.
It's right there. Come on.
I've been saying it would be cool if we got like I like as a concept for Nuts and Dolts like the intimacy of repairing your GF. There's potential there.
There is.
It's true.
We've all seen Full Metal Alchemist.
Full
I
Metal
have.
Alchemist.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen Full Metal Alchemist.
That's a
Mercedes, you should watch it. It's good.
Well,
it's a
that's my
high
list.
priority.
It's on the cartoon list.
It'll also make a lot of references that I make in the Volume 3 episode make sense. So there's things to discuss there. I feel like Nuts and Dolts for me, I always like headcanon them as like a modern AU is like gamer GFs. Like they just
Oh, definitely.
That's so
for
cute.
sure.
they just like spend all their time playing like Minecraft with each other.
Like, they meet on like a talking game thing. What's it when you talk to other
Hey.
people in a video game?
Discord. What?
Oh yeah.
The app we were using
You
to
know, when people
record
are wearing
earlier.
like the headsets and stuff. I know video games.
But like that just brings up the possibility of, hey, what if I put my Minecraft bed next to yours?
Yeah. No, that's exactly them. That's the Nuts and Dolts dynamic for me. What if we kissed in the Minecraft house and we were both girls?
The good Christian Minecraft story.
Amazing. Okay. I like White Rose. Does anyone else here like White Rose?
I'm okay with White Rose, but I had some interesting run-ins with some shippers, so I'm a little hesitant to say I like it.
I will say it's been fascinating to watch the transition of White Rose to Bumblebee as like the juggernaut ship, like in my time in this fandom.
I like White Rose.
Tell us about White Rose.
There was this one scene where she was like, "Shut up, don't touch me," and then she very tenderly held Ruby, and I was like, I get it.
That is a really cute scene.
It's like a fun dynamic. It's, you
I
know...
was more...
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, I was more on board with White Rose in the first 3 seasons, and then I was like, as it went on, but, like, that's just me.
There's definitely like a drop-off in White Rose content as the show goes on, that's for sure. But I think early on, like, they do make a really good team. They have, like, a fun dynamic with the, like, Baka protagonist Tsundere GF combination, which, like, you know, it's classic. there's a lot of stuff to work with there. I mean, Weiss literally has her own version of Baka when she calls RWBY adult. So, like, I don't know. I like it. It's like, I'm always sort of torn between White Rose and Nuts and Dolts because I like both of them, but I like them for different reasons.
What about Dolts on Ice?
RWBY has 2 hands. I don't know. I can't imagine Weiss playing Minecraft.
Oh, no, she's like Ruby's cool roommate who gets sucked into their shenanigans.
Interesting. That's a fun dynamic. All right, let's get to the big
Here
one.
we go.
Oh,
Wait, what is?
Me and Rio got our game face on for this one.
All right,
I'm
so
just gonna Google Black Sun real quick.
I'm gonna be all right. So I may have fucked up. I may have made a miscalculation because I didn't invite a Black Sun shipper on this episode.
I forget about Black Sun in Volume 2
Okay,
too.
but I was actually okay with Black Sun, and Rio can attest. I was like, I think they're gonna end up together. But like that was because I was convinced that there wasn't gonna be any gay ships at all in the show. I was like, they're not gonna do it. But like otherwise, I would have been on the Bumblebee train in Volume 2.
yeah, I tried to make you. It was hard. It was harder than I thought it would be.
Volume 3 really sold it for me, but yeah.
Yeah, I can see, like, if I had not watched the rest of the show in a binge after Volume 2,
Oh
I
my
could, like, see how Black Sun might be, like...
Also, didn't you
cute, you know?
start watching with Bees Kill Adam?
Yeah, I did start watching with Beast Kill Adam.
Yeah, so you came in with a bias.
Yeah.
I like some het ships. I can't unpack that right now. Anyway.
So I always love to like pathologize whatever het ships you're into.
It's like whatever those guys on Outlander and The Witcher are up to.
God.
Fair.
Yeah.
Like I definitely can see why people like Black Sun, and I don't dislike any Black Sun shippers except the ones that are like low-key like doing it because it's just a straight ship and that's why. But yeah.
I do think it's cute, but it's not for me. That's how I feel with Black Sun.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed. I really like Sun. Sun is like a good character to me. I like how fun he is and how caring he is for Blake in later seasons. So I could like definitely see where they're coming from. I just prefer Bumblebee.
Rio, you hated him in the second season.
Listen, I hated him in the second season because all he was just there to like basically fuck around with Neptune. So
I mean, we can get into that. That's like its own thing.
yeah.
Yeah. In terms of like, yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on this in that like, it definitely feels early on like, oh, like they're gonna have Blake and Sun end up together. And I feel for the Black Sun people because even though it's not my
They got
ship,
het baited though.
yeah, dude, they got het baited. That's the thing. Like, even though it's not my ship, but like there definitely was a lot of like stuff there to suggest that it was a very real possibility. And if you're expecting if you're not expecting lesbians in the main cast, then yeah, like it feels almost like a foregone conclusion based on just like the dance arc and the fact that like he's one of the first people Blake opens up to in Volume 1. So like, yeah, I get it. I just, I was already like a Yuri person before I started watching the show. So like there was no question what I was going to end up shipping. But yeah, no, Black Sun has some points.
Must be
The
nice.
The heteronormativity got me hard.
It did.
Too, like they just like eclipse anything now.
Heteronormativity is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it's true.
Fuck, dude, it sure is.
Pug, do you have opinions on this?
I really was sitting here trying to come up with something nice to say about Black Sun because I feel so badly that they're not being represented right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm just too gay. But I also was thinking about this conversation about, is Bumblebee or Black Sun going to be canon? Maybe I'm just old, but my, shipping back in the day, nobody was worried about what was going to be canon because we weren't going to get it, So
I think like a lot of the people prying for validity on like which ship would be canon it started by the fact that everybody was like, there's no way that they're gonna make two girls get together, and then all of the gay people were like, don't say that, and that's why it got heated. But
yeah, I think wanting representation and getting that representation potentially at a Bumblebee is valid. But I just feel like in fandom recently, there's been this new drive for like, my ship is good because my ship is canon, or my ship is good because it could potentially be canon. And
Oh, fair, yeah.
I just wish we threw that out. Like,
I've definitely seen that push, and it sucks. I feel like it sucks out some of the creativity of like chaos.
I totally.
I don't know if I should bring this up, but like
Yeah, I
that
agree.
just reminds me of all the war that happened in like, I didn't watch Voltron, but like damn, watching that from an outside perspective was like watching like a war go on.
It's so funny because I'm watching
Yeah,
Voltron.
that was cringe.
I'm watching Voltron right now for my next video, and it's hilarious because like my thought throughout the entire show has been, wait, this is what everyone was mad about? Like,
Yeah.
like it just feels like a lot to get that worked up about. It's not a bad show, it's just not like blowing my mind or anything, and I don't get why this was the thing that everyone was dying over. But yeah, we're getting off topic. I think everyone here is like, well, Pug, you're kind of like shipping neutral, if I recall correctly.
I know,
for the
it's
show.
so terrible. It's so unusual for me. I would like, one of these ships to like light me on fire with how badly I like it, and I just don't have that feeling. It's terrible. It means I will probably never produce like RWBY content. I'm so sad about it.
F's in
You
the
just have to
chat.
have it hit you. Like, if it doesn't
Yeah.
hit you, it doesn't hit you, right? Yeah.
But it's never. So RWBY is the only show I like this much that I have not been hit by a ship. It's very weird.
Are you into like other cartoons usually?
Yes. This checks all my boxes.
Okay.
It's just like there's like a piece in my brain missing. But
Strange
yeah,
and fascinating.
But yeah,
I jumped on the Bumblebee train because, sorry if I'm like sharing Max and you don't want people to hear this, but I think
please let them know.
the first two people Max introduced this with turned out to be Black Sun people, and he very quietly said that to me while I was sitting on his couch, and I was like, so now I'm the biggest Bumblebee supporter in the world because
It wasn't just that the first two people I introduced this to ended up being Black Sun shippers. It was that the person who got me into it was also a Black Sun shipper. So all of my IRL RWBY friends were Black Sun shippers. And so when I watched like Volume 6, I had no one in like among my actual friends to share my excitement with. And I also didn't have like actual mutuals in the fandom at that point. So I was just like screaming into the void about how excited I was.
Aw.
Anyway, but enough about me producing Black Sun shippers for some reason. Merc, would you care to opine about two of your favorite ships? Because they're right next to each other on here.
Wow, it's like 3 of my favorites in a row, actually. It's nuts.
Nice.
Crosshairs, yeah, it is funny. You know what's crazy about Crosshairs is like Bumblebee, I ship them around a lot. Like I'm really into like Freezer Burn and like Monochrome and like obviously Beast Schneeze and like Baked Alaska and like I don't know. But Crosshairs is like I get a glimpse into how deeply OTP people feel about shipping because like I see people ship like Coco with other people and I'm kind of like, oh man, like it actually bums me out. It's a very strange feeling. But I don't know. I like how they're like they look really cool, and I like how when you read After the Dawn, there's so much cool characterization with like Velvet being like a lot tougher than she looks, and like her and Coco like growing together and understanding people like on that level is more like equals and stuff. So like there's actually a really nice dynamic with them. I feel like After the Fall, most of their dynamic in shipping was like Velvet was like really like kind of like shy and nervous and stuff like that, but there's like a whole new layer to it lately that's really interesting. But anyway, Crosshairs rules.
Hopefully stuff we will get when they go to Vacuo.
I do love Crosshairs. Like, I feel like when people did see Coco, though, a lot of people were immediately on the Crosshairs bandwagon, and it was just because they looked good standing next to each other, really, for most of
Oh my
that.
gosh.
Yeah,
The consistent theme with coffee.
Yeah.
for real.
Stand around, look cool. You don't need to do anything else. Taking Baked Alaska back for the girls. Do you want to explain this concept, or should we not?
Okay, so basically, like boys on Reddit ship Baked Alaska in like a really gross way, and like I like Baked Alaska. I think it's a cool ship, so I think like
in like terms of like cute headcanons and like nice fan art that's not gross and stuff like that. Anyway, I have a group of friends who always make fun of me for shipping it so hard and like being like, okay, enjoy your boy ship.
You get
So,
fucking
I was like,
cyberbullied over
"Yeah,
Baked Alaska.
girl."
The Baked Alaska tag on like any fan fiction website is like
Like-
just riddled.
Sorry, what?
Riddled. Sorry. The
Rough.
Baked Alaska tag on
Rough.
any. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. I think we need to take it back for the
Alaska
girls.
fan fiction is really terrible. I haven't read any good stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
Starting.
I think it's one of those things where it's like maybe it's just because a lot of writers are drawn to like Bumblebee and like the other like bigger pairings. But yeah, like I think there's a lot of validity to Baked Alaska on the core premise of just like tall girl, small girl. What else do you want, people?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Also, I feel like isn't like a significant, sorry to go back to Crosshairs real quick, isn't it like a significant percentage of the Crosshairs tag on like AO3, like you or Merc, like asking your friends to put background crosshairs in everything they write?
A lot of it is. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do get, but they don't tag it all the time, right? Like I know that my friend Margaret slips crosshairs in for me often, but she never tags. Yeah,
I
Margaret's the
love
best.
Margaret.
She is Pagoda. You guys should check out her Bumblebee fanfic, and she does put crosshairs in for me, but she doesn't tag it, right? So probably not a ton of that.
I mean, part of me respects that because it's like there are definitely some fics where they like have a lot of background pairings and then they just overload the tags and it's very ugly to look at.
Yeah, and like I have a tag that I use regularly that's minor appearance by Coco Adele because she makes a lot of appearances in my fics.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and that I think works really nicely because people should use that more because it doesn't filter into the Coco Adele tag, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sea monkeys. Sun and Neptune. Just two, just guys being dudes. What's better than this?
Just two bros on a noodle date when they should be helping their friends.
Two bros chilling in a hot tub. You know what energy Sea Monkeys gives off to me? Justin Timberlake and Andy Samberg doing like Dick in a Box and Mother Lover.
Oh, totally, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's their
absolutely.
vibe.
That is not where I thought you were going to go with that.
Do you think it was gonna be an NSYNC thing?
I don't know what I thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
They would tell each other it's not gay unless it's in a three-way.
Yes.
Like if it's in a three-way. And then-
oh, you're
yeah.
still here. Oh man.
They kiss and they say no homo afterwards.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely they do. They're like, why didn't you tuck me in last night, bro? Like that's their vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. I think, you know what? Like, it's not for me. It's not my thing. But massive respect. It's a good ship.
I saw honestly the softest Sea Monkeys fan art a couple weeks ago, and I was like,
I think I saw that too.
yeah, it was really nice. Like,
Put it in the chat. Link it in the
Yeah.
chat.
oh,
Got a
I'm
bunch
going
of
to
things
actually.
to
I'm
link
gonna get it right now.
afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff. Iceberg, I think we already discussed. Are we all in agreement that Weiss and Neptune are both repressed gays, and that's why they
Yes.
immediately broke it off with each other?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't hate it, but like at the same time, I'm gay, so like
Kind of a recurring theme in this podcast.
I don't know. Neptune can be bi as a little treat.
Yeah, bi Neptune actually is a good one. I can see him as like just really slutty bi actually.
I like
Same
bi
with Sun,
Weiss,
honestly.
too.
Yeah. I can see them being like chaotic wingman bi who like if they don't pick up at the end of the night, they just go home together.
This is a
Yeah, I
fascinating
could
concept.
see that.
Think about it.
Yeah.
God, this is just like really convincing me of the validity of Sea Monkeys. Top
I know, I
tier.
like that. Sea Monkeys is good. Oh, I'd link that art.
Okay, Wish, I think you had, okay, it was either Wish or Rio, maybe it was both of you.
Oh, probably both of us.
People
Yeah, both of us.
shipping Yang with men.
Ew. Yeah.
Okay, this was just a big theme, and it was just like any man. They were trying to find like a straight ship for Yang, like any single man that she interacted with at all, like Neptune. They were like, yes. They talked for like 5 seconds, perfect, and like it just kept happening. And me and Rio were like, but like where is the substance? Where is the flavor?
Where's the flavor here? Like, you can't just, well, you can if you like it, but like just based on the content in the show, like what are you basing this off of? Is it just because you don't want her to be gay, or is it like, I don't know what it was.
I think it's better to say like, oh, I like this ship because they look nice together than just be like, I like this ship because it's straight.
Yeah. There was a lot of just like, oh, I just like this because I'm het, so I want a het ship, which is fine, but like you could at least say that you like that they look good together or that you like their dynamic and not just like, hey, I like het ships only, so I can't see Yang with a girl.
There was so much of that in the early RWBY fandom though. It was like a war between the gays and the straights. Like it was really strange. I've never seen that before that.
Yeah.
100 fandom had that big time.
Oh god.
Well,
That could happen.
yeah.
Sorry, Pug.
Is there another example besides Yang and Neptune? Just because I'm trying to come up with one in my mind, it's not happening.
Hold on,
Dragon
this
Slayer.
one's bad. This one's bad.
Yang and John.
Yang and John, and then there's Yang and this is bad. Yang and Junior from the club.
Of course that exists. Ugh.
Yang and Sun.
Yeah, Yang and Sun exists too.
I actually like art of that though. Solar Flare, it's like really cute, but like I
like
don't
the
really
name.
see
I
the
like that.
validity of it.
Yang and Sun are workout buddies. They go to the gym
I was
together.
about
They
to say,
are.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like bros.
Yes.
They're gym buddies. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Everyone always says that Yang gives off like a very, very strong gay vibes. Has that like read like to all of you from like very early on, or did it really set in like volumes 3 and 4?
I don't know.
I mean, for me, I read it like almost immediately, and then I was talking to Wish about it, and she didn't see it as early as I did, or she did, but I like didn't want to yet because she was scared.
No, I was like, yeah, okay, kind of. I was like, hey, I think that she does too, but like it's not gonna happen, so I'm not gonna get my hopes up. So like I just kind of was like, yeah, I'm gonna stay with what I think is gonna happen, but I was wrong. So
Pug and or Merc, how are your gaydars feeling on this?
But I mean, like, I got into RWBY because the bees killed Adam.
Oh, right.
So I'm
Okay,
never
you
gonna
were
have a
biased.
true
Okay, Pug.
glimpse into this.
Forgot about that.
She does scream gay to me though, like especially in her like 4 to 6 outfit. I'm like, there walks a word I probably can't say on this show.
I also got into it and had been following you on Tumblr for a long period of time before watching the show, so I don't know that I had a clear opinion, but she has a strong gay energy.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Also,
It's the cowboy vibes.
yeah.
Bee-haw.
Oh, we're not gonna. God, no, stop.
No, we're not
Don't
getting
get
into that. She can have cowboy vibes without getting into that.
Yours?
I just
Yours.
no, stop.
No, stop.
I hate
please.
that. That's my legacy. I hate that.
I love that for you.
Which that was like my second week in the fandom when yours happened. I almost turned around and left.
I'm so sorry.
Dude, when yours happened, I thought that was like the funniest shit ever. To this day, I still need to go to RTX and cosplay yours. It needs to happen.
Oh my god.
Just
I
hate that for
almost
you.
did. I almost borrowed my friend's bottom half of her like My Little Pony cosplay because she made the hooves for it. I almost went to a convention as yours.
Should've done it. Oh man. Yeah.
I didn't
When
even
cons
start.
reopen, it's over for you bitches.
Yes.
I didn't even start that, but like I like intensified it and made it so much worse.
God.
Yeah.
Wish's legacy.
It was a lot.
As a
Yours
final
more.
side note for this slide, Ironwood and Glinda totally fucked, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
fucked multiple
Yeah.
times.
Palpable energy dripping from those two in all of their volume 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Iron would buy.
Sure. Okay. Final point. We dipped into this a little bit in earlier slides, but like one other thing this fandom has no shortage of is just like rampant speculation about every aspect of the story, and there was no shortage of that in these early volumes from what I've gathered. So we talked a bit about like Neptune potentially being gay before and how people were disappointed about that. What was the Weiss is going to die thing?
Yeah, what?
It was like based on the trailer that they released before Volume 2, and like Blake was carrying Weiss from the food fight scene, but it didn't have the food fight stuff in
Oh
it.
my
It was
God.
just a clip of it, and they're like, "Oh, Weiss is totally gonna die this season." Like, oh, definitely. Like, she definitely has death flags, and
Wait.
people totally believed it.
They showed that scene with Ruby like holding Weiss going no too. Like everyone was like,
Yeah.
oh god.
That's so funny.
That's so funny. And then
This
it
is
was
like when people thought Blake's leg was gonna get cut off in Volume 7.
oh yeah, people people thought a lot of things based off like the formatting of the title of all things.
It was like
I
not
was one
even.
of
It
those
was like
people.
it was like the Crunchyroll like ad they made. So it was like some internet Crunchyroll had that power. Which you thought so? You thought the leg was gonna go? Do you think Volume 8?
No, I was one of those people who was just like, wow, because they kind of did that with like Volume 3 where it actually made sense, and then I was like, they did that once, they could do it again, and then I was wrong, and I was like, nah, nah.
No, but they did do it again. They did it for Volume, was it 6 or 5? When Weiss got
5.
stabbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did do it, so like there was
It's a
reason
precedent.
behind people believing that, but
One of my favorite
no.
running jokes on the RWBY meme subreddit is the shish kebab, where they take that
Yes.
frame of Weiss being impaled and just add more characters onto the spear.
No, I've never seen that.
it's so good.
I need to find the like perfect final shish kebab and put that on screen, so everyone can get a good look at that. 'Cause that's one of my favorite dumb memes from that subreddit. Okay, apparently people thought Ironwood was Weiss's dad. Where does this come from?
It was so weird. Like, I don't know why. I guess it's because we never really saw them interact and we never saw her dad, and because he was from Atlas, it was automatically assumed. But then there were also people who were like, ah, yes, Daddy Ironwood. And then there were other people who were just like, ah, yes, they're both from Atlas, so we can ship them. And I was like, he's like a 40-year-old man.
He's graying.
Calm down, Lana Del Rey.
Oh god!
Leave Lana out of this.
I think they also were saying that because he had the same color scheme as her, which,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
That's just everyone from Atlas is white.
Mhm.
No, it's blue and white and red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The red, white, and blue. Ooh.
Yeah. Mostly white though. Yeah.
Weiss has got those Louboutins.
God. Yeah, actually. Weiss canonically wears Louboutins.
Absolutely, Weiss canonically wears Louboutins.
And then finally, I guess there was like discourse about Roman and the other villains like possibly being like a couple in some way or another, and like no one knowing how old any of them are.
Yeah, specifically, so like with Falling Petals, for example, too. Nobody knew how old Cinder was because she infiltrated the academy, and they were like, well, clearly she has to be like passable as a teenager. But then like people were like, maybe she's in like her mid-20s, who knows? And then Neo, because she was short, everybody was like, short person, they can't be an adult. And like
People still say that about Neo. They're like, she's probably 15, guys. And I'm like, why would you go in with that?
They all the short queens and kings in the audience not happy about that implication.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
God.
Can
But
we just
also,
put,
like, the implications of Cinder and Roman, like,
Ooh.
when she arrives, and then Emerald and Mercury are there too, and he says something about, oh, she brought the kids, and then they have this like moment of like flirting together. I'm like, wait a minute, how old are these people? How old are you? How old is Roman? How old is Cinder? Why are they flirting? Why are they acting like Cinder and Roman are like the mom and dad of Mercury and Emerald? Like, what is going on here? But then they kind of like dropped that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was saying,
like,
I think
thankfully.
that Cinder's like Winter's age. That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
I put them as the same age.
I hope so.
Cinder and Winter, you say.
Oh, please tell me more. I'm so into that one.
Suddenly I have a new ship.
Volume
I'm actually
Volume
Actually
7's gonna
writing
be a
that for somewhere, though.
fun episode. Oh man.
It's just gonna be me at like the Pepe Sylvia, like smacking pictures of women in heels. Like, look at this.
Winter with her hair down, just like a full meltdown.
Yeah, that and like I need. There's a whole story with Clover revealing his semblance in Volume 7 that I looking forward to that. But that's just a preview of things to come.
I'm gonna laugh. Stop.
Okay, good episode. Nice job, guys. Let's finish off with some final thoughts on this volume. If anyone has any, Pug.
I guess if you are listening to this and you are hoping to watch later seasons, please do. Like, desperately, I'm begging you. Keep going, it gets better.
Merc.
I think if anything, what I've learned in this episode is that I am easily swayed by Rule of Cool. Like, that gets a lot out of me. So, yeah, Volume 2. You really satisfied that for me. Thank you.
And you know what? That's okay. There is a lot of validity to just like, again, fuck it, it's going in the show. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Rio?
I mean, I'd also agree that, like, if you're just getting into the show, you should just keep going because it does get better from here. So there's a lot of good stuff in this volume that you'd probably enjoy if you give it a chance.
All right.
Yeah.
Wish.
I'm gonna say like Volume 2 is definitely a step up from Volume 1, but if you're planning on watching it, hold out for Volume 3 because that's where the pin really drops.
Oh, yes. And we will get into that on the next episode. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I was hoping we'd run shorter this time, but it was literally about as long as the last one. So I guess this is just the length of this podcast now.
Don't forget the hour for technical difficulties.
Can't forget the first hour on technical difficulties. Anyway, thank you everyone so much for watching and or listening, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye. Everyone say bye.
Oh, bye.
Yeah.